Welcome to episode 12 of the BattleVault, a no dice, no glory podcast dedicated to the world of Battlefront's 15mm tactical gaming, including Flames of War, World War III Team Yankee, Great War, Fate of the Nation, and NAM. Today is the 24th of November, and I'm Ed, and I'm here with my buddy Tom, who's going to tell us what we are going to talk about today.
Hey, Ed, thanks a lot.
All right, man. I'm still alive.
All right, well, today this will be our U.S. Masters Flames of War 2020 Extravaganza.
Whoop, whoop,
So,
whoop.
yeah, whoop, whoop, whoop. So we'll start off with our standard mention and dispatches. We'll talk about a couple events, one of which we were both at recently. Then we're going to have the Heroes of the Hobby interview, which will include Bryan Koches, who is the tournament organizer for the 2020 Flames of War U.S. Masters, and Erin Preston, who we've had on before, who is one of the participants from that event. And between the four of us, we're going to go down each of the 18 submitted U.S. Masters list for 2020 and try to make some predictions. Then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and find out how accurate our predictions were, because we actually recorded the Heroes of the Hobby segment before the Masters, and now the Masters has occurred. So now Ed and I can give you the feedback and tell you how well people did and what units were at the best and what trends and kind of things we thought we saw on there. Then we're going to have a new segment, well, a modification of rules Ed forgot. We'll have rules nobody knew except one guy in California. So pretty interesting spin on that. And then we'll cover future ops. We know of at least 3 events coming up in the near future, so we'll let you know where those are, and hopefully we might see you at some of them. So how's that sound, Ed?
That sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, man. But before we get deep dive in that, have you been working on any hobby lately? Gotten any new Flames of War or Team Yankee stuff done?
Yes, I'm working on my West Germans. That's all I have. Until recently, because I bought that starter set with the, American and Soviet starter set. So now I got a couple of Soviets to work on. So I'll slowly get that army going, and eventually it'll be up to par. But I can use my Americans as my allied support. So I've got those, and I've added another 2 Leo 2s and another 3 Leo 1s to my West German force, but that's about it. I haven't done much more.
Yeah, that's all right. You're generally way ahead of me on painting. I think you probably paint and work on models at least twice as much, if not 3 times as much as I do. But I record mine. I track it, and I'm up to in my goal of reaching 365 teams this year, painted for Flames of War and Team Yankee. I have thus far completed 262. So I have 103 teams left to paint in what remains of November and through December till we get to January 1st.
You would be lucky to make that.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're going to make it.
I'm going to probably fall short. I have been trying to get there by painting Soviets for World War II. It's a lot of dark green from all my tanks. And so that and fortunately, fortunately, just coincidentally, because I was working on those, that's why I ended up deciding to take the U.S. Masters, was Russian T-34-85 Horde, because that's what I've been painting a lot of lately.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Yeah,
I like that force.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten much chance to play our race to Minsk lately.
Mm-hmm.
We've had I was out of town for about a week. You took some time off.
Yeah.
So we're at three games out of our 5 planned campaign games. So hopefully we'll catch back up on those in December and give you all a little continuation of that. We've been having fun with it. I'm really looking forward to seeing that thing through. So we'll get back to that as far as gaming. Other than that, it's you'll hear about what we've been doing in terms of the tournaments and things that we cover later on. So let's go ahead and speaking of which, let's talk about the mention and dispatches and see what's happening out there. We have a tournament that was held on November, what was it, 7th, up in Newark, Ohio. John Meyer ran a 110 mid-war list our event where each force had to have 5 points dedicated towards command cards, at least 5 points. So why don't you cover? We don't have the third place list. That was John Zubek. Apparently he played some sort of KV1 list. We know what type it was. We don't have the exact details, but we do have the second place and first place winners, which were Tyson Swigart and Ed. Why don't you run down his force he used for that second place finish?
Okay, Tyson had the New Zealand Rifles and Cavalry, right?
British Rifle and New Zealand Cavalry.
British Rifle and New Zealand Cav. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just make sure I'm looking at the right one. Okay. So yes, the British Rifle, standard British Rifle, but one platoon's the larger platoon. Yeah, if you can call it a large platoon of 9 stands, 7 Bren rifle teams with the boys and a 2-inch mortar, and then the other one's the smaller 5 rifle teams. And you got the indirect support for the infantry of a 3-inch mortar platoon, a full complement there. Some 6-pounder anti-tank guns, 3, and he has a full Vickers medium machine gun platoon. That makes up his force. And in support, he had some heavy hitters here. He had the 17-pounder. The mid-war, the original version on the 25-pounder
carriage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so he had 3 of those. And
they called that gun the Pheasant, Ed. That was the code name, the Pheasant. I don't know where that came from, but it's technically called the Pheasant.
It's a British thing.
Yeah, I suppose. Yes, indeed. All right.
Those city chaps. Okay. Yep. He had a 6 Bofors 40 millimeter AA guns in a troop, so it's a single unit for 8 points. Wow!
How many shots of AT7 is that?
That's a lot. What is it? 3 per gun?
Oh, I think it's more than 3 per. Is it?
I don't remember.
I think it's 4 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. But but that's still a lot of AT7 shots, which is quite a bit of a thing for mid-war.
Yeah. I sure hope those Italian M13s don't show, don't peek around the corner too far.
Yeah, they may die fast to artillery with their 4+ save and big bases, but those things will just keep those light tank swarms at bay.
That's right. And then he had 3 heavies. He had Churchill 3s, 33 points of his force. Wow. Yeah,
can't argue with those. Not in mid-war.
He also had another formation. I almost didn't see this. He had a honey formation. Oh, well, not a honey formation. He had division. What is that?
The New Zealand Division Cavalry.
Okay.
It's a command that lets them take that unique formation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a light unit. Only 5 honey tanks, 2 in the headquarters, 1 3 tank troop there, and then 2 universal carrier troops. I mean, for what? How many points is that? 12 points?
Yeah. Actually, 12 points, and then but he upgraded them with the scout cards, so that takes it up to 16 points. But that's 16 points for a whole second formation, and it's pretty frail, but man, it can threaten flanks and with a scout card, it's a little bit hard to hit. And
that looks like it's going to be his reaction force because everything else is infantry kind of based, with the exception of the Churchills. And
they're pretty slow.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Well, cool list. And had your favorite Vickers machine gun platoon.
Oh yeah, the one you unleash on my poor Italians every game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They excel at that.
Every time. You just decided to put them in ambush every game.
Yeah,
and no matter where my Italians were, somehow those dang things have popped up and just whacks the whole unit. Not one platoon, 2, 3, and then all of them.
Yeah, and then it takes you all game to get rid of them with artillery.
Because I hide them after that, and they do nothing else.
Yeah. Well, then the first place finisher, though, was our good friend from Able Company, Chris Fretz, who U.S. Chris So as might be expected mid-war, running a U.S. force. So why don't you tell us about what he was running there, Ed?
Yeah, he's known for his Americans, and he's fighting from the book Fighting First, and so he has a Stuart Tank Company. So he's got and he has fully decked out platoons. So he's got the headquarters platoon, an M3 platoon. Of course, the platoons are with 5 minus the headquarters with 2, and then you got 2 Stuart platoons, and then 1 Lee platoon. Yep. And let's see, do they have long barrels? Yes, he has the long barrels on those.
Yeah, and they're all maxed out, 5 tanks per platoon.
Yep, 5 per each. And then he has the M4 81 millimeter half-track mortars. Yep. The T30 75 millimeter assault platoon. He has 3 in that one.
Yep, got to have those.
Yep, those are sweet. And then the armored recon platoon with 2 M3A1s, a Jeep, and a mortar Jeep. He has, for support, let's go down the page a little bit. For support, he has the P40s. Yay. Okay, good. I like my air.
Yeah.
And he has a full armor. No, he has the four half track.
It's the reduced armored rifle platoon.
Yep.
But it's not that much smaller than the full up one. It's pretty economical.
Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of stuff in it. 4 rifle teams, 4 bazooka teams, 2 machine gun teams, a 60 millimeter mortar, and then of course you got the 50 cal on one of the half tracks, and the other one has 30. So you got a lot of stuff there. You don't have to worry about the infantry with those guys. And then of course he has his heavy hitters should the Tigers pop up with the M10. So he's got three M10s there.
Yeah.
And the card he used, I'm not familiar with this card, Tom. It's called, let's see, Courageous and Faithful. Courageous and Faithful.
Yeah,
and it looks like he got 2 of those cards. Or 3 of those cards.
3. He got them one for each of the platoons in his main force. So I'm not familiar with what that command card actually does for him. Obviously, it makes him better.
Okay, courageous. Okay, so they're probably going to get a boost in the morale, and then faithful. Maybe the last stand as well.
Yeah, they might be better on the last stand or remounting. Remount or I guess it'd be remount for the tanks. They wouldn't need unpin.
Well, so. Courageous. Better morale, and then faithful, sticking around a little bit longer. So that makes sense to me. Yeah. But we shall see.
Yeah, I was going to try to.
It paid off because he won the tournament.
Sure. Well, he's very experienced with that list. He plays U.S. Light tanks a lot, and it's got a mix. It's got light, medium, and heavy. He has multiple templates, all 4 plus firepower, but he's got a lot of those templates, and also the reconnaissance patrol and the armored rifle platoon, they also have templates because those 60 millimeter mortars bombard. I mean, they have to re-roll hits, but there's effectively 4 different templates you can put down on the battlefield. That can really help. Yeah,
it can slow down the infantry. I mean, it'll pin something down, and it might cost them a turn of movement. So that's just from that little bitty pop shooter.
Yeah, oh Lord, it was a while back, but at Wolf Craig, I had playing US, I had a single mortar, was able to catch 2 flak nest 88s, in the pack nest under the same template, and on a hill with a penalty to range in, and it managed to hit both even with rerolls. He managed to fail saves, and I managed to pass the firepowers even with rerolls. So that was pretty spectacular for a little 60 millimeter mortar to take out 2 88 pack nest.
Yeah, I remember that story. I don't think it'll ever happen again.
It's probably as lucky as it gets. So, well, also on that same day, November 7th, we ran an event, and it's a good time to talk about running local events. So as you all know, Ed and I, we travel a lot. We will drive to other people's events in Indianapolis and Ohio and Tennessee, and we're more than happy to get out there and in other areas as we get a chance. We've even traveled out to Virginia what was it? I want to say Missouri, St. Louis, just Yeah, just east of St. Louis. So, anyways, but we haven't done as much as we maybe could for helping to build our local gaming scene. So we kind of thought that, hey, look at these guys up in Minneapolis and in Indianapolis. They run events almost every other month. So between the two of us, we do have a good number of local players, but they're just not as into the game, or at least not up for travel, which is fine. But in order to help try to build our hobby locally, we're going to run more events. And this one we ran on November 7th was our first attempt to get out and kind of do that. So we didn't really advertise it. We just tried to keep it local. Plus, with the COVID, right, we weren't too crazy about trying to get too many people there. So it was just a small 6-player event, and we only announced it on our local Facebook. But we got some local folks out, and we did a 85-point D-Day themed red versus blue, and we had 6 players, and they started off with Lawrence Prasad Jr., who was playing a German Panzer company, Panzer IVs, and his father, Lawrence Prasad Sr., was running German SS tanks, did a little bit better. Then our buddy Bryan Huss was running his Italian Churchill squadron, which was great. And then we had Charles McKellar, who was running a German. They had.
What?
That was making a lot of noise.
I'm sorry.
Oh Lord, we're 27 minutes in. I'll cut this out. Let me continue on here. Sorry. I was just like,
You're
great
on
radio.
roll. Keep it going.
Yeah. Now, all right. So I'll break it. All right. So we had 6 local players. The guy that okay, blah 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 blah. Okay, so we ran this small event, and we had 6 local players. And coming in at the bottom was Lawrence Prasad Jr. running Panzer IVs, and then his father, Lawrence Prasad Sr., was running German, SS Waffen SS tanks. He had some Panthers and Panzer IVs. Then in 4th place, Bryan Huss running an Italian Churchill squadron. British Italy Churchill squadron would be the better term for it. And then our good friend Charles McKellar also ran a German Panzer company. I think Panzer IVs and Tigers mixed.
That's correct.
And then Scott Atchison, who came up from Huntsville, Alabama area. He was our only traveling player, and I didn't even know he was coming. I was surprised to see him on Saturday morning, but I'm glad he was there because that rounded us out to a nice even 6. And then some schmuck named Ed Hall came in first, running a British Sherman squadron.
Yeah.
So British Sherman company, right? Or no, I guess it is
a
squadron.
It was a Sherman company, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never played British before, and I just went out there. I figured, I'm just going to get waxed, but I'm going to go play. And I spent. It was my excuse to make these things. I've had them. I wanted to get them together, look good, put the decals on them, and so I just went out there to get them shot at. And sure enough, my dice, it's like were heaven delivered. It was the first time I've used those dice. There you go. They were just rolling sweet. I'm going to have to play British more often. But
you were using the British dice with your British force?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which ones? The ones with the roundels in them?
Yes.
Greenish ones. Okay, yeah. Those are the ones that you get mad when I use them against you.
I know it. They're like blessed. I don't know what it is.
They don't roll any better than the other dice. You just think
it's not true. If you look at your averages, man, those dice are way above average in your high rolls. That's just I can't believe it.
No, you just remember the spectacular rolls more than the normal ones. It's an illusion.
Yeah, but this was unique. Yeah, Scott brought up a unique force of nothing but Tigers. He had 7 Tigers for 85 points.
Yeah, and
he was the first guy I played. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to get this guy up there. And sure enough, I ended up winning that game without killing a single Tiger. It was amazing. I just got to the objective. He couldn't get to it. He bogged when he needed to get there to contest, and there was nothing else that could make the distance. All I had to do was survive the shots, and he woofed. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, he had the headquarters Tiger and 2 platoons of 3. I think that's how
right.
he ran it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because at that point level, the 3 Tigers was just enough to make his reserve.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And what won it for me wasn't my tanks. It was the Daimler Little John sitting right there on the objective.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't. That's the problem. You've only got 7 models on the board. It's hard to cover everything.
That's right.
Yeah. That was good. Well, we'll see him at our future events too, we hope. And if he ever gets running some stuff down in Huntington, Alabama area, that's not too far of a drive for us. It's like 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah, that's travel zone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could consider that one. Well, cool. Well, that pretty much wraps up there was also an event in Leesburg, Virginia on November 14th. But yes. I don't have any details on it. I don't know what happened or how things worked out. I would assume William White was there. He sent probably our buddy John Holland was there, but I didn't see any sort of information about the results on Facebook. Perhaps it was canceled. It was in about the No Dice No Glory forums, but that's where I saw it. But I didn't see it posted elsewhere, so maybe they canceled it and didn't update the entry. Anyways, well that's a pretty good little rundown of some of the events. Well, let's take a break, and then we're going to be joined here by Bryan Koches and Erin Preston. And we're going to go deep dive into the 2020 Flames of War U.S. Masters list. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds great.
Speedball is lame. Hard Knocks Games is awesome. You can get board games, trading card games, role-playing games, hobby supplies and tools, Gundam, Warhammer, and more. Find us on Facebook at hardknocksgames.com or visit us on the Dixie Highway.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to No Dice, No Glory and the Heroes of the Hobby segment. And tonight we're particularly lucky that we have 2 heroes of hobby. One, Erin Preston, we've had on before, and he's going to jump in. But new to the podcast here, we have Bryan Koches from Texas. And where at in Texas, Bryan?
I'm in the College Station area.
Okay.
So Texas A&M University, kind of right in the middle of Texas, about an hour and a half west of Houston.
Well, excellent. And one thing that our listeners may not know is that you are the designated tournament organizer for the 2020 Flames of War U.S. Masters. And even though you're way down yonder in Texas, you're driving all the way up to Elizabethtown, Kentucky to host this event, which is, I think, the first time I've ever heard of a TO traveling so far just to run an event.
Well, after you've been in the game as long as I have, you make a lot of friends, and especially in times like this, you don't necessarily get to see them so often. So I thought this would be a great opportunity, 1, to get out of the house, and 2, to say hi to some old friends.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you're doing it. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. I saw you in the spring at the Team Yankee Masters, which I was not playing at. And I would have happily TO'd that one for Joe Lewis, but he already had it under control. So I just came out to hang out for the day with y'all. Indeed. Yeah. So tell us about this format that you came up with for the Masters this year.
Well, when Joe approached me on that, I was pretty excited to be able to contribute to the Masters. And I've always had these weird formats floating around in my head. It's one of my staples. Not necessarily weird things floating around in my head, but just like weird list that I try to come up with, and I bring with tournaments and stuff like that. So when Joe approached me, I'm like, well, I think I could probably come up with something that that would stretch the generalship of the players, and that's kind of my whole goal. So it needed to be simple. It needed to be something that we haven't done before, and it needed to be really kind of unusual, something thinking outside the box. And I have a close confidant, another Masters player, Jacob Mayer, and so I reached out to him, and we started shooting things back and forth, and we came up with this idea about everybody starts at 100 points. If you win, you start to lose points. And if you lose, you start to gain points. And to keep it kind of fair, with an interesting. We came up with a random, like players are randomly assigned. So if you win 2 games, you'll be playing with your 90-point list. So you lose 5 points when you win, and you gain 5 points when you lose. So you're at 90 points. You could be playing somebody that also won 2 games, and they have a 90-point list, or you could be playing somebody that has lost 2 games, and they're playing their 110 list. So that's a 20-point difference, and it's just so striking, so simple. The format that people can get, understand that there's no special rules that we have to consider, and or changes to any type of keyword within missions or anything like that. And it really tests if you're a good general or not. Can you overcome something potentially great odds to pull out a win? So there's, to me, this format was pretty sexy in its simplicity. It's kind of really out of the box format, and I thought, hey, we have Masters players. This is the perfect time to pull something like that on them.
Yeah, and especially with this, like the level of players you have. It's kind of almost like a leveling factor there. So, Erin, what are your thoughts about the format as one of the participants planning to be in it?
As somebody who plays way too many factions, it was a little rough on coming up with 11 lists for everybody. I think by the end of the thing, coming up on the day of turning, I had 55 or 65 lists that I was pondering. So that was a lot of skull sweat for it. I think it's going to be real interesting. I think it's going to take a lot of luck to win. Like, I think the matchups, because especially since it's no Swiss, that everybody's up, I think it's going to be interesting to see how much luck plays a factor. I think everybody's pretty solid in the field, so I think everybody will do well. I don't expect anybody to be on their 75 or their 125-point list. I think most of us will be in that 10, 15 points off the center. It's nice I like getting, one of the things I always like about Masters is usually it is something different. It's out of your comfort zone in some form or fashion, and that's definitely going to be the case here. I'm not sure that many people are going to overcome that 20, 30-point difference. It'll be very interesting to see the data on that, and I hope you guys are going to keep track of that some.
Yeah. I think that'd be very interesting to study it.
Yeah, as my plan is, as the excuse me, one of the things we want to do during the event is to interact with the people that aren't able to come. So we'll be trying to live stream some of the games and have interactions with the tables if that's possible. I know there's some additional restrictions that have come recently from the state of Kentucky, so we'll try to work within those guidelines. But one of the things I want to do is, as we go along, I'll be posting the matchups and the point spread, and obviously the results of that, so that people that aren't able to be there can follow along and see what's going on.
Well, cool. Are you gonna have to play as a ringer? Because I know one of our players has to quarantine now due to family contact or acquaintances they've had who've come up positive. I don't know if they're going to fill that slot, or is that going to require you to do ringer duties as well?
Well, they are still asking. So there is a limit to how many people we can go down the list to ask. And there were a couple other people on the alternative list that they are asking. So right now we do have 17, I believe. So we are looking to get that 18th person from the list. If not, then as a ringer, I'll play, or I may bring a special ringer.
Well, you could also Ed there. He's available. He was going to be out of town that weekend, but he's also here in E-Town. So if you want to utilize him, even just to play a ringer for one round or something, he can put together that same list that you had, the Panzer IV. Pretty basic, easy to run kind of thing. So it's a good ringer force to not necessarily a win, but just to be something that's easy to handle and keep you from your duty. So, anyways, that's an option out there too.
I actually have a former Masters winner as a potential ringer.
Okay.
And somebody that can ride with me all the way to Kentucky. So we'll see. They're, like I said, they're expecting a response tonight from one of the alternatives.
Right.
And if he can make it, fantastic. If not, then we'll make it work. And I think as a ringer force, especially in this format where you're randomly assigned, you can't bring as a ringer a cheese puff list and be easy on people. You have to, because you could be matched up against the person with the most points. You just don't know with that random assignment. So you got to go hard with every round, with every list. So, and I think that's what we're going to see if the ringer plays.
Okay. Well, it's cool, especially if you're going to have a wingman that like to make that trip worth. I'm sure you're pleasant company for the 17-hour drive.
It's going to be clear. I don't know, it's 17, but it's like 15 or so. So yeah, it'll be. If I have to write it solo, I've got a couple of good audio books I'm going to listen to. If not, then it's always a pleasant trip with my ringer.
Yeah, you're hopefully able to come and get the chance to play. That'd be cool. I used to live in Fort Hood, Texas, and frequently made the drive from Fort Hood to Knoxville, Tennessee, and one go, and that was 17.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a long. I used to do all the way out to Nashville, from East Texas to Nashville, and that was long enough. And going all the way out to people don't realize how long Tennessee actually is. It is a long distance. So. Yeah, that's a good little clip.
Yeah. Well, I used to be from Houston and Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's go ahead and dive into the list. Let's take a look at what people are bringing. We have some pretty interesting, but I think the simplest thing is maybe just kind of go down one by one. And how about you lead us off with the first list there, Ed?
Okay, I can do that. Let me pop it back to the top. We got Vincent Arroyo playing a German from the Waffen DD SS book there. And it appears that he has that 88 Nest group there, which is, let's see, his main group would probably be Grenadiers, based on his forces there. And he's got a couple of stews in there, so three stews and 3 Vespas. So he's got infantry with good support of artillery and plenty. Looks like 7 88s in his force. So I'm assuming 4 of those are going to be Nest with the Nest card there. So that is going to be pretty rough unit. I know I've been fighting that unit that's pretty much similar to what you've been playing for a while, Tom.
A little bit. I have Panthers in my 100-point force, but he's gone in big with the 88s, and but also has the Vesp. And he's the only Waffen SS player that we have in the whole tournament, and he went with the 9th Hohenstauen Best Firepower upgrade card for his weapons and gun teams. So pretty cool. So what are you guys' thoughts about that, Bryan and Erin? Well,
I thought his full list set was pretty, very consistent with the Waffen SS. Very minor changes all the way up. Some people took there's 2 major approaches. One, very consistent throughout the 11 list, and then people that kind of moved around a little bit and changed up their forces as they moved through. This one being, I thought we would definitely see more SS forces, but I think what we see is this being the only true formation of SS, but then we see the SS Tigers appearing as support in people's lists. But this is the particular card, the Best Firepower card, is interesting because you have to take into account every half-track or vehicle in that formation. So he has the armored SS platoon, and then the 4 half-tracks in it, so that's 2 additional points that are needed to kind of essentially just be wasted. So you're losing in a 100-point system. 2 points is getting to a point where that can be a significant point number. I mean, you could get another scout troop, et cetera, for 2 points. A lot of things you can get for 2 points. Very kind of static list. So we can probably expect this to be, heavily defend, obviously. So you would want to try to get them into missions to make them move, make them go, long, short edge to short edge. I think that's the weakness of this list. If you can pull that off, I think you have a good chance against it. If not, if he can potentially attack with this list, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I had overlooked one of the forces he has in there. He's got 6 of the flame half tracks.
The flame half tracks might catch somebody unsuspecting there.
Yeah, but the thing with the half tracks, and I'm assuming that's the reason why he took the best firepower card, is that when people go, "Oh, I have flame anything," they're like, "Okay, that's checkbox number 1 to kill, to get it off the table." So protecting those are going to be really, really difficult. It was something that can die to, a 3-4 arty or a 3-3 arty. It's going to be tough. So you probably see this as I would lean that he would have something like a maneuver with this list, probably mostly to defend them.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And do you know Vincent, because isn't he from El Paso?
Well, Texas is a big state, so I don't know.
I know. We're talking the extreme opposite ends there, right? East to west. So.
Yeah, it's probably as far from my place to El Paso as it is to my place to Hard Knocks.
Okay.
So pretty far out there. I did have a chance to meet him at LVO. Okay. Unfortunately, I was dealing with other things, lost luggage, all that kind of stuff while I was there. So I didn't get to spend as much time with everybody as I normally do. But I did meet him. He was actually on our team to go to ATC in Singapore, which is the Team Yankee Asian Team Championships. And of course, with all the things happening in the world, that kind of got canceled. But yeah, great guy.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to meeting him. We interviewed him about 8 months ago. Well, maybe 8 or 9. He was the first interview we did on this podcast. So really looking forward to meeting him. So, Erin, why don't you take us into one of the best list? Pun.
Well, they might be. They did well at Wolf Creek, if I remember correctly, this year.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Mr. James Best Sr. is bringing a D-Day British Rifle Company for most of his list. So It looks like he's got I would say 2 small size rifle platoons, some 3-inch mortars, some 4.2 heavy mortars from the command card, which I think are really solid.
Yeah.
Dimer armored car patrol. Like most of the British, it looks like he's running 2 units of Achilles.
Good.
He's got 4 Shermans, so 76. So those are going to be allied from the Americans. And it looks like he's got some universal carriers and then 6 Wasps for the flamethrower love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. I'm not a big fan of the small platoons. If I'm infantry, I almost, other than Soviet infantry, I'm playing any sort of other infantry, I always try to max them out. But he's got a lot of units in his core formation with all those Wasp and universal carriers running around, so he can hide stuff. It's not like you're going to be easy to break his company. And of course, you're going to be dealing with all those tanks and SP guns. Mm-hmm. So interesting choice to put the 76 Shermans in there. I guess for firepower on the move.
Yeah, it gives him a 3rd AT option, which I do really like. But I definitely see this as a defensive infantry list. Although with that many Wasp against other infantry, he'll probably come at you.
Yeah,
that'd be a nice little counterattack force there.
Yeah, what is Stan Hollis going to do for him? The Stan Hollis card.
I am just dabbling in British, so I do not remember what Stan Hollis does off the top of my head. Sorry.
Probably some sort of reroll or increased attack or something like that. Well, cool. All right. Well, how about Bryan? Let us go to James Best the Younger.
Okay. Very interesting list. He's one of the few actual tank forces in this tournament. And he has 16 Churchills, the Soviet Churchills. And then with some like KB8, which is the plane tank, some recon, and then taking 3 IS-2s, which is I really like that tank. I like the company even better. And then the Engineers Sapper Company, which is the 8s, which I believe is a small sapper company that you can have the smoke pods, the body armor, very, very versatile platoon. And really like that particular infantry platoon. If I remember correctly, we were about 1 point a team, and it essentially do everything on 3s. It's very, very stout. Having only 3 shots of slow firing AT-14, I think is going to be kind of the bane of this list. But 16 Churchills, that's going to be really difficult for forces to deal with infantry forces. Even the list of the 7 88s, I think are really going to struggle against this type of list. It's just a lot of AT, a lot of saving, the chances to save, and a lot. It's just a lot of everything. So very interesting list. I thought he really, as a tank force, this was right up there. Very well built, I thought.
Yeah, but it's missing artillery, or at least some mortars. I'd like to have some fire support just for a little bit more balance. But I agree, 16 Churchill is a tough number.
Do you need artillery though when you have flame tanks? Front armor 9 flame tanks.
Well, I think it depends on like how much time he has. Like if he's trying to blitz and he succeeds in the blitz, it's going to work. But if he stalls out, I definitely could see that being missed. Yeah. Even just the ability to pin. Like the 3 flame tanks are slow; they can't be everywhere, so he's only going to be able to attack in one spot. But you're right. I think against the right list or somebody who missed a poise, he's going to win real quick. But I'm not sure he's going to get that too much at this level.
If he doesn't win quick, he's dead.
And like, what happens when the Tigers show up there? Like, if he loses, like you said, the IS-2s, it's going to be rough. I definitely wanted to play with Churchills. They were one of my contenders. But it's
one thing that I overlooked. He has the option to take some 82 millimeter mortars if he wants to give up some of his sapper teams. And you Bryan, one thing that we can cover that now is that I think that there was a ruling that this had to be done when you design the list, but you're keeping with the typical intent where he can swap those out between rounds.
That's correct. So the wording for where you have to pick at the time of list design says replace X with X at no cost. That is not here in this particular sapper company. So to me, the intent seemed to be you can at table setup or at the time that you're setting up, you can pick what teams that you want. Now, it's my understanding that on Facebook, there is a ruling where Wayne or Phil, somebody came in and said, no, it's at list design or list submission that you're supposed to pick that. But we are not using Facebook as a resource. We are only using the rules as written and the lessons from the front in this tournament. I want to make sure, because it's not a format that not everybody's familiar with, and the fact that we have point totals that can get up into 110, 115. So I want to make sure that the games keep moving. And if we have to sit there and scroll through Facebook to try to find some really odd ruling, that's going to cut people's time down to be able to actually play the game. So we want to kind of keep it simple. There was a new release of Lessons from the Front, October 20. In October. This particular rule was not in that. So we're going to go with the. I thought the original intent of it was going stated how it was stated, and then if other TOs want to go to the Facebook for that ruling, then they can certainly do that. But for this one, we're going to keep it simple.
Yeah, and I honestly, I was really surprised with that when I heard about that Facebook post, because this is how those kind of lists always worked in version 3, and I thought that was clear. Everybody understood it. I don't understand what the issue is. So I'm personally glad that you're keeping with it, even though I'm not running these kind of formations. I would have done the same decision. So cool. All right. Well, this next list is run by some schmuck named Tom Burgess. So I guess I'll cover this one. So I've been painting a lot of Soviets lately in my mad rush to do 365 teams this year. And so one of the quickest, easiest things to paint were Soviet tanks. And I had a lot of T-34s. So as we came in on Masters and I had to decide what list to go with, I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll just run my T-34s. And they're about 4 points a tank. So I thought, well, that's easy. As I go up a point or down a point, I can just drop a T-34, add a T-34. So that was kind of the simplicity of the list. And basically, it's the at 100 points, it's going to have the T-3045 headquarters, the two companies of 7 tanks, the mortars, the submachine guns, of course, and the anti-aircraft to max out the main formation. And then for support, BA-64s, the Sturmovix, and the artillery, 76mm artillery, which I really, really wanted to try the under the cover of smoke command card. I've never just the idea of playing Soviets with smoke just enthralls me. So I think I'm the only guy doing it, but that's just kind of what I went with. I'm not expecting to be some situations may luck out, but I will struggle surely in some other ones with these tanks. And I didn't go with the hero tanks. I thought long and hard about hero tanks, but I like the bigger units. And these guys are also fearless for Last Stand. So, I just kind of thought that a little more staying power, and I could probably I don't like using blitzes and stuff like that as much because they tend to leave me wanting. So hate risk it. So I just figured this is just kind of a charge list. Lay smoke, run up behind the smoke, and hopefully get into the mix pretty quick. So we'll see how.
I think the heroes are also hit on threes, correct? So if you're and who needs a blitz when you? Well, I mean. The strong action of this is the 24-inch range or whatever it is across country with T-34. So you can move large amounts of distances, with this force. I mean, AT-12 is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's a lot of them too.
Yeah, and it is a ton of them. So, and the fact that we don't have the version 3 Soviet plus one thing, I think this is a very solid list. I did have to ask a question though. Why did what was your reason behind taking the IL-2s?
Oh, Ed Hall. They're I'm kind of mixed on air. I beat up Ed all the time on the podcast about relying too much on air, but they're pretty models. And to me, air is gambling. I take air for a lucky early hit. And so if it's going to make an impact, if it can come in on the first turn, get a good hit, knock out a key couple of vehicles or do one strike, then that's what I'm looking for from it. But it's a crapshoot, and I know it. So that's why they're in there. And also it may induce my opponents to spread out a little bit more, especially if they're trained, hit on threes. Then they may not bunch up and use as much cover. They may have to spread out more and get out in the open. So we'll see. But that was about the limit of the thought that went to it. I wouldn't say it's some sort of master stroke of genius or I'm expecting a lot out of them. Just pretty models that I'm going to gamble with.
All right. I thought we would see a lot more Soviet planes. But that's not the case. What the combo I thought I would see is IL-2 plus make your own luck. So you're automatically get those planes in whenever you needed them.
I do have the make your own luck card in other list. I just don't have it at my 100-point list. I really wanted the smoke, and that's a kind of a pricey card for 3 points. And then I really wanted the hero Tanko Desentnaki. So that in theory I can load up one of my companies with the tank riders and launch those guys into assault, ideally through the smoke that's hopefully still in place at the beginning of 2. So we'll see if that worked out or not. That's a lot of ifs. All right. Well, Ed, how about you cover us for John Cederberg? He's
John Cederberg. He's got a similar list to the one I talked about earlier, but it comes from the D-Day book, and he has the looks like the Grenadiers, Again, 4 flak 88s, a mortar section, looks like 3, maybe. Yeah, 3. 3? Yeah. 3 platoons there with a lot of extra Shreks. He has 8 Shreks Panzer Shreks in there, so that's going to be pretty awesome. A 250 recon unit, and he's got the cannon platoon also of 6 251s there, 2 Tigers, and then Vespa artillery support. So I think that's a good diversified force there. If you're going to go on the assault, you got 3 platoons of infantry right there with plenty of Shrek. So it's a threat. And I think, and of course, his infantry has the Panzerfaust also. And I think he's got a good force. He can do either. He can defend or he can attack.
Yeah, the way he affords all this, though, is he's the first of our German players who's running the 1/16th Greyhound card. So he's getting the discount on all of his core things. So like that 6 stumble half tracks are only 7 points for 6 AT9 3+. I mean, it's a really good unit. And I actually played against something very similar he was running back at Wolf Creek this year, and he did really well with it. And it's definitely it's made me start a company. That's actually what I've been painting on our painting calls all this summer, is my Germans to be a 1/16th Panzer Gren list like this.
Yep, that's been a very popular card. I think we have 7 with the Ringer list, but of the 6 German infantry list, you've got the Waffen SS, 1 Beach Defense Company will come to, and then the other 4 are all 1/16th Panzer Grenadier guys. So, all right, well, let's roll to the next one here with Chris Fretz. How about you you're a Soviet player, Erin. Why don't you do the analysis on his?
And before we get there, one of the replacement players, JB, which is John's son, I had him. So the intent was, while you guys were playing, JB and I, who's coming anyways, we're going to play games on the side. So I had him submit his 11 lists as if he was attending Masters. And it just turned out that he is one of the replacement players. So I do have his list. It will be updated in the packet, and I'm hoping to get that packet out later tonight. But if you'd like me to describe it real quick.
Yeah, break it down for us.
Okay. So he is the only one doing heavy Soviet tanks, even heavier than the Churchills. He is bringing the heavy SB artillery regiment, where he has the IS-2 for the headquarters. Then he has 3, 3, and 3 on ISU 122s with the machine guns, because you got to have the machine gun. He has the BA-64. He has 3 additional IS-2s. And then he has the cards Lucky, Make Your Own Luck, Partisan Guides, and Reconnaissance by Combat. So very heavy list. A lot of artillery, or can be used for artillery. A lot of AT in that list. We'll see how it matches. Obviously, a list that's going to be attacking a lot. So we'll see how it stacks up. It's going to be a rough road for lists that don't have the 788s in it. So I'm very curious to see. And JB's a great player. I've actually had an opportunity to play him at Nationals, and very curious to see how this list matches up or how it performs.
And he'll make the second father-son combo then, won't he? Because we'll have the best and the Cedarburgs.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I actually
you'd be the third, because you have the best, you have the Krons and the Cedarburgs.
Oh, I thought the Krons were brothers. All right, cool. Well, there you go. Look at that. It all runs in the family. Yeah, I have 10 ISU 122s already, and I just painted 3 ISU 152s. So I'll be interested to see how it does, because I've got all that stuff.
Yeah.
I can emulate them later on. All right, cool. So let's roll into another Soviet there with Erin, with Chris.
Sure.
Fretz's list.
Chris Fretz, coming down from Indianapolis, is the other person running the Hero Shock Rifle Battalion, which we both agree is a really good rifle formation, although Bryan thinks the other one's better. We'll find that out at Masters. But no, He is looks like he's running 2 large platoons of the Hero Shock with the RPG grenades, which I think almost all the Soviet players are using in their infantry. He's got the 3 120s, 6 82 mils from the core, then the 3 decoy Panthers, which pretty much all the Soviets infantry are running. It looks like he's added an HMG to one of those and 1 flamethrower platoon. I'm not sure which the breakdown is because of the format I'm looking at. But to back all that up, which is a solid start, it looks like he's got the 3 roller skate BA-64s, another spearhead unit, 5 Stuarts, and then it looks like 6 T-34-85. So that's going to be just a normal T-34-85 like what Tom's running. And he also is bringing Sturmovix, probably to throw in another good template for the last 7 points.
Yep.
And he has a few cards. He also is using the Make Your Own Luck. We both agree that's probably a better choice than Lucky because it's a guaranteed pass in a lot of things. And then he's got the Reconnaissance by Combat for his template and Partisan Guides, which is a fun one to mess with or to do the reserve manipulation. Give him better reserve rolls. No, it's good, solid like infantry list. I think the Hero Shock Rifles is pretty flexible, and I think he's a little bit lighter on AT than I like to run, as you'll find out in a little bit. But it's a lot of good mobile units to back it up, so he could definitely attack or defend, which is one of the reasons I went with Hero Shock as well.
Yeah, he definitely knows how to do both of those, and he certainly has a lot of experience. I think he just runs French for early war, and then U.S. and then Soviets. I think there's only 3 nations he plays, so he'll do well with them. And it's reassuring to see the Sturmovix because then I don't feel so bad about picking him myself. But if Chris picked him, they can't be that bad, right?
There you go.
All right, cool. All right, well, Keith Gilmore is going to be running German, so how about we throw this one to Ed?
Let me
German
down here. Yeah, okay. So Keith is running the D-Day Force German Panzer Grenadiers. He's got himself 3 full platoons of infantry there along with the headquarters, just a minor mortar section. And he looks like he does have the gun platoon consisting of 4 of the short 75s there. For support, he does have, it appears to be 4 88s again, flak 88s, the Vespas, which seem to be popular, the 250 Scalp platoon, and 2 Tigers. Yeah, okay. His cards he's going to have, he's got the Lucky card, the Pack Front card, the Assault Flak 88 card, which allows him to get a little more with that negative modifier. And again, the 1/16th negative modifier for the Greyhound division. So, yeah, I like it. I'm liking the German ones that I'm seeing here. And actually, I'm kind of surprised that I'm seeing, or I'm not surprised to see these Grenadiers because I played them too when I play my Germans, and I like them a lot.
Yeah, and this is going to Bryan. Now, if we had provisions about using the same support in the same book, because a lot of people today would probably try to take SS support with that Panzer Grenadier Company. And do I have that right? And so we were limited to a single book, basically, to keep again the theme of keeping it simple.
Yeah, and so my original thought was Lessons on the Front applies, and within Lessons on the Front, you have the late war journey, which allows you to take support from formations from a different book as your support. And I started to I think somebody asked a question. I'm like about that setup. So I went into forces and I started to mess around. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a nightmare to check. Got 208 lists or whatever it is after all over the place. So just to keep it simple, as you mentioned, Tom, it was your support and your formation have to be out of the same book. You can take additional formations out of different books. You can take allied formations out of different books, but your primary formation and your support have to be out of the same book. Otherwise, it would just been a nightmare.
Right. Right. And I'm with you. I just wanted to point that out because I'm sure some listeners are like, hey, why didn't he go with the SS Wesp and SS Tigers? So I totally support that decision. All right. So I think you're up next here. Oh, well, Andrew, we'll skip Andrew. Andrew Hobson had to drop out. He's for our sake, he's quarantining because someone he knows close hand has unfortunately come up COVID positive, so he's skipping the event. So okay, take us there to Chris Jackson's list there, Bryan.
So Chris is one of the players that talked about the two different options. He was the one that kind of skipped around, picking the best of what he thought would be for that point level. And for 100 points, he took the Hero Motor Rifle Battalion, which I love this formation. I think it's probably the best formation in the book. So many options. He took, you have the HQ, obviously, then he has the small Hero rifles with an added PTRD, 2 of those, 82 mortars, the 120 mortars with the 6 of those so he can get the reroll. The 57 millimeter anti-tank gun, which is interesting because you don't see a lot of these smaller anti-tank guns. So I thought that was very interesting. The BA-64, he's replacing some of those. See, here's that phrase, replace up to 2 with PTRD at no cost. And then he has AA. That's all in his formation. So it's going to be a real tough formation to deal with. And then he has the necessary RPG 6 cards for all his infantry, and the Partisan Band, Recon by Combat. He also has an Engineer Sapper Company. He has just a normal rifle company with 16 stands in that. Not the hero version or anything like that. So
that's got that Partisan Band card. So those guys will count as on the board, reserve points even when they're on the board.
That's exactly right. And you save on a 4+, so they're going to melt in droves. And then he has 4 SU-100s for that kind of high. The Tiger Killers is what they're there for. So and they're good at that. The only thing yet to be concerned with SU-100 is that 5+ cross. If you get a board with a lot of hedges, you're going to have a rough go getting those things across the board. But a very solid list. I think this is probably one of my favorite lists in the tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's also a super good player who's known for coming up with super good lists. So not too.
Yeah, I like those SU-100s. Those, you pop those. Guaranteed. Granted, you're only going to get one shot each, but you pop them up at long range, and you got that cheap infantry out in front of them to protect them. They just sit back there and pop off rounds.
Mm-hmm. That would be,
and that they'll knock off the big items.
I think if people let him defend, he's going to do really well. But if they make him move, he's going to struggle a bit because those SUs, they're really good at that. What you're saying, but they also get outranged by the 88s and the Tigers. So it'll be interesting to see if people are good or able to force him to move, or if he's able to sit back in his holes, because he definitely has a really good defensive list. Yeah, and he's pretty good at assaulting with infantry too, so he'll do okay regardless. But
and he's got four infantry units, right? Two Hero Motor Rifles, the Partisan
motor
rifles, and the
Sappers. Yeah. No, he just keeps taking more and more infantry too, so it'll be interesting to see. And Chris, like you guys said, is a very good player. So
yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see the like you said, the competition between the Hero Motor Rifle and the and what was the other one? The ones you're running?
Shock rifles.
Hero Shock. Thank you.
Motor rifle's better.
All right.
Come on, Erin.
We're going to wait and let the data prove itself in our small sample size. But Chris Kretz and I, we both play. I take our votes worth more than yours, Bryan. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's. I think they're both good. I think the motor rifle is really good too. What I thought was interesting is you don't think the forward attachment's that good, but the forward attachment is essentially just the motor rifles with the tank built in. But that can wait for later. That's not relevant.
Yeah.
So
my Soviets, all my infantry are submachine gunners because I sold all my Soviet infantry a while back, which had a great mix of stuff, and then I've been rebuilding them. But the only thing I had to rebuild them with was submachine gunners. So I'm desperate to find some metal Strokovi guys so I can run some of these formations, because right now I can't. I'm just all submachine guns. But cool. Look, all right. Well, here's one of the father-son teams, and I don't know. I was surprised. Maybe you guys aren't surprised, but Michael Cran running the only D-Day American list, the only American list. So I guess I'll cover him. He's got a little bit of a twist. He's not 100% American. He's running the Armored Rifle Company with 2 ARPs, both of half tracks, both full size, I believe. And then the machine gun platoon. Interesting, they took the machine gun platoon. That could really help against Chris Jackson. The M1917 HMGs. The Scots, great buy, and the armored mortars, great buy. But then he has an allied formation of Churchills, Italy Churchills, and he's bringing 15 Churchills. So think about the Soviet Churchill list we saw earlier with 16. He's got 15 and a whole armored rifle platoon, a whole armored rifle company with its internal artillery capabilities, and he also for support has the Desert Rats universal carriers for scouts. So it's tough. So even when we finally have a guy playing U.S., it's not pure U.S. In fact, we might say that the Italy Churchill squadron is the main heavy hitter of the force.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be kind of worried on this one because he doesn't have the heavy firepower to counter any heavy units.
Oh, good point.
He's going to have to hope to overwhelm his opponents with those infantry and get some flank shots in an assault.
Yeah, his max AT is 10, but think about this list going against Chris Jackson's infantry base force.
Yeah, well, that's Chris Jackson. He plays a lot of light units. Yeah, you just need to know when you play him, you got to bring a lot of machine guns.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any thoughts from Erin or Bryan on this one?
I think 2 Tigers are going to destroy this list.
Yeah, I don't
Unfortunately,
think it's Tigers. I think the Achilles. Well, the Achilles might get in trouble, but I think the ISUs and the ISs are going to give it problems too. I think he's going to run into things he's going to have trouble killing with his guns. And yes, he might run over everything else because that is a lot of Churchills, and the armored rifles aren't slouches either. But I know I'm a little paranoid about anti-tank, and I wouldn't be comfortable running that.
Well, I'm always scared with British three tank platoons. Just that whole running, you lose, one, and the other one's bailed, and the next thing you know, they're checking. I play Crusaders in the desert, so I'm very used to running them. But the only thing that gives me in mid-war in the desert with the Crusaders is just knowing that I've got 32 tanks on the board. So I don't get too concerned when 1 or 2 of them runs. But in this force, that's a little bit has me a little nervous.
Yeah, his victories are going to be 6-3s.
We shall see. All right, so who's next? Who wants to cover this one? The other father-son team. Now, which one is the father? You got Michael and Nathan. Who's Papa and who's Junior?
I believe Nathan is the father.
All right. Well, let's get the dad's list here. So, Erin, how about you break these German guys down? He's running.
Sure, okay. This is another Panzer Grenadier 116th, but this one's a little different than it looks to be armored. Unless I'm reading that wrong. It looks like at least one section is armored. So it looks like it's with 21 MG teams. So it's going to be 3 platoons. At least one of them is armored. Then he's got the 2 8cm, the normal Pans or Grens, and then he's got 4 88s, although he does not have the pack front card apparently.
No, he does.
He does. Well, then the spreadsheet, Chris missed that on the spreadsheet. I'm sorry, Chris. So another pack front, which makes sense. I think that's a solid choice for Germans. Then he has 3 Panthers of support, and it looks like he's running a recon section of the half-track recon. And then it looks like he's also got the 6 Stummel half tracks, the 7.5 centimeter half tracks, and 3 Wesps as his artillery template. So very similar, although he's probably a little better in the attacking because he does have the armored and a few more machine guns, but he's losing a little bit to get that too.
Yeah, and he took the assault flak card too. So those 88s in the nest
are trained.
Yeah, they'll be hit a little bit easier.
Oh, I mean, I generally think that's fine too with the 88s, but I know some people really like keeping them veteran. But you can get a lot with all the discounts on the 116th. That extra 4 points can give you another good solid unit.
Yep.
Yeah, Ed's been educated because we've been playing a lot of battles, and I'm always running the pack front, and he's been massacring my 88s. So I'm more inclined to not use that assault flak card in the future because he's just been. With 50 cows, that's what gets me. He tears me up with 50 cows. So So a little bit of work on that.
My zoos go in there and shoot you up, and you ignore them.
Yeah.
So they're shooting pieces.
And interestingly, he went with the SS Panthers. So he's as a allied formation jumping in there. allied platoon, black box platoon. So we at least have some SS Panthers out there running around to see if they can.
If you're running defensive, I think they might be the better option, but the Tigers do give you that assault option if you need them. So
yeah, true.
I mean, I definitely waffle. They're both close points wise, and that could be what he upgraded the points with the assault flat card to get that, because that's about the difference there. But I definitely need to play that more, but I generally am not playing too much Germans right now. But,
all right, so all right, another heavy hitter here, Joe Lewis, one of the Able Company guys, and Ed. Who should be up on this one? I guess I'll cover it. Sorry. All right, I'll cover it. So Joe, we have a lot of British rifle players. I think about 4 of them, and but he's the only one using the Desert Rats version. So these will be lower morale, but he offsets that with the bagpipes. So those units within range of the command group will have a little extra reroll bonus. So that's useful for him. He's got 2 full platoons and the 3-inch mortar, so in the headquarters. So that's a pretty small core formation with the 5+ last stand with the rerolls from the bagpipes. So he's going to have to keep those guys clustered. But then his support, man, a lot of heavy hitters. The obligatory twin units of M10 Charlies, 17-pounders. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I just bought another box set of those, so I can have 2 of them in the future. But he also has the crocodiles. It's pretty, and then the Daimler Dingoes has 2 units of those for scouting. The mix, and then he has Typhoons. So and now finally he has the Free French FFI infantry, the Free French infantry platoon. He has that for. To count as on the board even when they're in reserve. Are the Free FFI, are they the good ones or the bad ones? I can't remember.
The fearless trained communist ones.
Oh, the communists. So they're not the generally preferred ones, but I think the British have to take them or something because
the British get both options. Because I was looking at this
for
my Daimler armored car company, which is one of my options. But he likes the FFI because they have the 3+ unpinning, so they don't get pinned. Whereas the veteran ones have a reluctant. They're 5s. So he likes them to be able to go and move when he needs to and unpin versus the more harder to hit, the veterans that are reluctant.
Well, I dig the list because I ran a lot of the 51st Highland, reluctant and veteran in version 3, and have been meaning to get around to that here in version 4. So I like the list. I would be happy to run this, and of course Joe's a great player, so pretty well rounded force, and certainly he can do good things with it.
Yep.
All right. Oh, let's have this next schmuck, Erin Macheski Preston. Who should cover this list?
I'll take this one because this list is terrible.
I agree right now.
All right.
I'm having buyer's remorse. I should have gone American.
Let Erin cover his own.
No, I am the other Hero Shock Rifles, and I chose the Hero Shock Rifles over my American M10 company, which would have been much more unique, mainly because they can do both attack and defend. And the British armored car list that I was looking at and the my Americans, they really had to attack. And I think at the lower points values, you got to be able to defend as well, because I think that's the only way you're going to be able to hold out, depending on how big the points differences are. Yeah. So that's why I went with the Hero Shock Rifle. And I think they're better than the Hero Motor Rifle, but we'll see how that goes. But I went with the I actually like the smaller ones because I like them. That's one of the reasons I like the Hero Shock Rifles is you get more teams at a lower points cost if you take the small team. So I have 2 of the smaller Hero Shock Rifles with the RPG grenades. Right. And then I wanted a 3rd infantry platoon, and I should have looked at Bryan's option of the HMT plus the RPGs, but I went with the Hero SMG at full size and gave them an RPG grenade too. So I have 3 infantry platoons that are solid at whatever. And those are actually a little better at assaulting. But then to back that up, I've got, in this version, I have 3 82mm mortars and 6 120mm mortars as part of the formation. And the obligatory 3 decoy Panthers is core. And then as support, like I said, I tend to be a little paranoid about anti-tank. So in this list, I have 4 Hero T-34-85s and 4 ISU 122s. And I don't remember if this had the point for the machine guns or not. But I think the IS 122 is a very solid AT asset that can bombard if you need to. But I think it's a really good choice with the Tiger heavy tank meta right now.
Yeah, I used to run Udarni Strokovi. back when I had my rifle guys, and very, very, very similar. I dig it, and I like the fact that you went with the 6-pack heavy mortars, but only the smaller, the 3 of the because it's so cheap, right? That unit for 2 points, so very cool. And
actually, I'm painting them now. The bases need to be finished because I've had heavy mortars for years, but I've never actually put them together. So that's changing.
Yeah, and I also have the decoy Panthers, but I will not have them in my force until I get to the much higher levels. If I have many losses, then I'll get to roll out the decoy Panthers. But
it's a lot harder to bring them in if you're running a tank company because I was seriously considering a Hero T-34 unit as well. It's just to get a solid formation, you're putting so much in your tanks that you don't necessarily have the points for the AT support units.
All right. Well, you and Chris are representing the Udokovi against the motor rifle Bolsheviks. So, what are these red Russians and white Russians? We're gonna have the big civil war here.
Maybe. Although he's really the partisan scum, right? So he's the militia battalion as well. So I mean,
the Trotskyites or something, and
maybe
that'll be great. All right, cool. Well, let's have Bryan. How about you roll us through Tim McClellan's list? Next guy we have up here.
Tim has unfortunately not going to be able to attend.
Oh no!
Yeah. So we will not be graced by last year's Masters winner.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. I didn't know that. So another one bites the dust. So
yeah,
so sad to hear it. And I was really if I did anything at this Masters, I wanted to play Tim and beat him. If I did that, it would be a successful Masters because I have never beat him once in our half a dozen matchups now. And I always impale myself on his defenses. So I was like, I'm not going to throw myself at his forces this time, whatever. But
I think he's taken his list. I believe is the one that he took last year to win Masters. So it is very, very similar.
Panzer Grenadiers.
Yeah, Panzer Grenadier the armored variety, 3 Tigers. And 88s. The only thing I don't see in this one that I think he had last year was the pack front. He had 88 in pack front for that list. Unfortunately,
he used them as an ambush. Then he probably wants them as a plop all down at once and shoot all at the same time. So that's probably why he did that.
Yeah.
We just know he's afraid of Tom. That's what I'm getting.
No, trust me, he's not afraid of me. well, Bryan, continue on with the next German player in our sequence here, John Meyer, who is going to be there.
Yes, okay. He is definitely going to be there. He is the only one bringing the German Beach Defense Grenadier Company, where he has the HQ, and then he has the 2 Grenadier platoons. I believe those are the large. And then he has the Panzerfaust. He's adding HMGs to that. He's adding Panzerschrecks to that. So really beefing up that reluctant trains or reluctant green list, something along those lines. They can be pretty tough. Then he has the 4 HMG teams. He's got 75s all in his formation. Then he has taken the 352nd Infantry card, and that adjusts the ratings of those beach defense units. I forget I think they end up being trained. But he's also taken 2 88s in the tank hunter platoon, a scout troop, and then the heavy AA, the 4 88s, and he has the Pat Front card. No, I'm sorry. This is only list. He doesn't have a Pat Front card in it, but he does have the assault flak, which reduces the cost of those 88s, and he has a Firefly.
Yep, and that becomes a really good ambush unit. Then just super cheap. Pop them out, get off us one volley, and and be done with it.
So I'm curious. He also has the old minefields, and I've never actually seen this played or have been part of a game that this has been played. So I understand that you basically give your opponent some minefields, and you take some minefields, and you alternate deploying them.
Yep.
And then
your opponent gets 2, you get 3.
That's right.
And then as you come across them, you kind of roll to see if they're actual minefields or not. That's going to be a very interesting card. I think several, or at least a few people took them. And I'm curious to see how that plays out for people.
Well, Ed's got some experience with them.
I've used them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I dig them. All right, so
comes down to how good are you at rolling 4+ to make them go away.
Yeah.
So Christian Sorensen's our next guy up, and I guess I'll cover this one, and then we'll have Ed do the next one. Now, where's he from? I've seen his name a lot. I just can't ever. Isn't he
one of the California folk, the West Coast?
I thought so. So I didn't think any of them were coming out, but I'm glad he did. So glad to have him on board. I'm pretty sure he was a West Coast guy, and because I know I've seen him in like Las Vegas Open and some other events, but I've never met him, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him.
Christian's a nice guy. I played him in Team Yankee at LVO this year. After I had all my luggage and everything, we had a really quick, fun game as I was trying to deal with recovering luggage, and he was a great guy, very interesting to talk to. You'll enjoy meeting him.
Oh, he's got a list somewhat similar to the earlier rifle company that we saw with Joe Lewis. Straight up, although he's got one more unit in the core formation, he's got the headquarters, the 2 full platoons, the 3-inch mortars, the MMG carriers. So these are universal carrier mounted Vickers machine guns. It's a fun unit, can bombard and put a lot of firepower down, and is also mobile. Then for support, he's got crocodiles, only 2. Just a pair of crocodiles. The obligatory, you must run these if you're running British, 2 M10 Charlie units. So 8 of those things on the board. And then he's got a couple cool command cards. He's got the Canadian Relentless command card. I'm not exactly sure what that does. I guess it probably gives him some sort of increased rally or something like that. And that's, I think, is what they did with the Canadians in previous edition. They basically got to re-roll their unpin attempts or something. And then Kangaroo Transports, 1 card. So I guess he can run around. I believe that gets him 3 transports because I had to paint some more for my own. And these to be 2, and now they're in sets of 3. That's enough to carry around any one of those platoons, and I think the headquarters section as well. So pretty cool force. Oh, sorry, I'm not done.
You're not done.
No, he has a recce squadron too. So he has 2 formations, and this is all light stuff. The headquarters, 3 troops of Daimlers, 2 troops of universal carriers, with a Piat upgrade, 1 Piat per those 2 platoons. So what do you guys think between Erin and Bryan? Why bring the second formation of that's a very, very light formation?
Harassment.
But it doesn't do that great. Again, Tom mentioned this before with the 3 tank platoons. So when I run the Recce Squadron, I pay that 1 extra point, get the extra dingo, make it 4. That way you can lose 2 and not be too concerned about it. But I run it as a formation. It's without any other formation. So I can take the big crocs, whatever 1 infantry platoon that I need, and then, of course, the M10s gives me a little bit more flexibility. So it's a very interesting choice for sure. I mean, you can't really, with the 3 tanks, not really like annoying infantry or anything like that. It's not really going to kill any of the medium or heavy tanks. So I don't know. A very interesting choice to take 2 formations.
I know one thing Erin will probably point out, because I've heard him mention this many times past, is that he has a lot of deployments. He has a lot of cheap deployments, so he can pop out units, particularly if he's putting his whole force out. So he can put out nothing, and you can basically be done being deploying, and then he puts out his stuff that he's concerned about.
Right.
No, I'm not sure either, though. I think it's probably to give him the advantage on the more of an attack if he's up against other infantry companies, because I think some of his list he has the 50 cals on the universals as well. So I think those, like you were saying, are really good at killing Pack 88s.
Yeah, they are.
So you're not shooting the other things. So I'd assume it would be to give him more attack options in like a fair fight or a mobile battle when he has to move. But he is a man of culture and taste, though, because he also likes the Hero Shock better than the Hero Motor Rifle. So I am looking forward to meeting this fine gentleman.
All right.
And I almost, like I said, almost ran the Recce Squadron as well as my primary formation. So,
all right.
The schmack continues. Okay.
Ed, how about you? You cover the Dr. Vieger formation.
The Vigers. He's doing the Bagration Soviet. Let's see. It looks like what is that?
Engineer Sappers.
yeah, I was going to say, I think this
Engineer Sapper. Yeah. Okay. He's taken 2 small Engineer Sapper platoons on with the headquarters with 5 IS-2s as part of his formation. For support, he's got the ZSU M17s and 5 SU-76s for artillery. So good little artillery support there. Let's see what else we got here for cards. He's got the lucky card, make your own luck, and the deep. Oh, there you go. The decoy tank company of 3 Panthers there. So there you go. He is bringing it in. And yeah.
This is essentially the version for infantry and name only.
Yes.
Right.
It's some pretty good infantry, too. So
yeah.
Mhm.
I think if it's the right matchup, he'll do well with it. But he could also have some tough ones here.
But the
I
IS-2
like
formation is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's that plus the quads in reserve, so it makes it a really easy, and you still have your Panthers on the table, so very easy way to do reserves. I thought he really should have maybe dropped one of the IS-2s and then maybe got some of the one filled out the Sapper Company a little bit more. There's not too much you could do, but to get the RBG cards, especially if you get in a spot where you have to defend an objective. It was kind of useful.
Well, what concerns me about this list is the only having 18 infantry teams being required to be destroyed before those IS-2s run. You don't have to shoot at the IS-2s at all. You just pick on they still hit on 3 infantry, and he may have to hide those guys and send the tanks forward by themselves. I don't know, but that's the part that scares me is that the formation only has a few units.
It's only got 4 units in that formation.
Yep.
He is also like Chris, though, that this is just one of his. Some of his other lists are a lot different too. He bounced around a bit.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's cool. Cool beans. All right, and nice having the full. That's a neat little unit. Pretty good for dual purpose. Great for bombarding. It gets those repeats, re-rolls, but also 10, 18, 9 shots out of those 5 vehicles. Nothing to sneeze at. So like
That's
that
right.
versatility there. All righty. So how about we go back to Bryan for to cover William White's list.
Okay. Bill took a British tank force, Churchills, and boy, did he stock up on the big stuff in those Churchills. He has HQ and 2 troops, all the same, where he took the upgraded 11 front armor, Churchill for the 2 points, and then you have the 75 and a 6-pounder, and then he has 4 Stuarts for that Recce patrol. I believe those Stuarts have recon, correct?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I think British were the only ones that did that in the Stuarts,
Right.
which he's going to need because you really kind of got to get a running downhill start for those Churchills to get them across the board. And then he has he only has 4 M10Cs only.
Only.
Yeah. So, and then he has a parachute company for his infantry dig out or to assault the other infantry. And then he has the guards tank brigade card as well as the lucky card in that list. So not a lot there, but it is a force to be reckoned with, especially that 11 front armor on those upgraded Churchills.
Yeah, with the ability to swap hits, mistaken target. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to take a quick look at the just to confirm. I'm almost positive
They do have the recon. And
Yep.
Spearhead
Spearhead
and
and Scout. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
So
only
check.
British.
Very, very cool. I dig it. I dig this force. I have a it's amazing. I have like all of these forces. I must be sick or something, but I do have Italy, the North Irish Horse. So I have a lot of Churchills that I used to run in late war. I don't have the ability to upgrade though to the super heavy ones. They'll pretty much be more like the Italy squadron. It'll be fun. Let's see how it goes. Also, one thing I'll say about him, his list. Bill, I'm not sure if he goes by William or Bill. I think I've seen him use both. But he's from the East Coast. He's been playing a lot in the I-95 corridor up in Leesburg. We've been reporting results, and as we have been on the podcast. And he's won more than a few events running these Churchill Squadron. So he has experience with them. It's not. It's basically it's what brought him to the dance, and he's just sticking with what he's been running all year. So
I will say, I would put money that his is probably the best painted list in at the tournament. He's a fantastic painter. If you haven't had a chance to see his stuff, it is amazing.
Looking forward to it. It'll be awesome. Okay, and I guess we're down to the ringer list. You designed this one, Bryan. So, or did one of your buddies design it?
No, I got my ringer that is in the wing there to design his own force. I don't want to hear any complaining because it is a 14-hour drive there and a 14-hour drive back. So, we're not young dig his own hole.
Okay, so we're not running this ringer list then. He's got something different now.
No. He designed this list. Yeah, this is his list that he designed. So I wouldn't have to listen to him complain about anything that I put together. Unfortunately, he was under the understanding or the misunderstanding that Joe $100 bet for Panzer IV's winning or being the top three of a nationals also applied to Masters, and it does not. So he designed this list with the in mind that he was going to win that $100.
Yeah, he was going for the golden ticket.
Yeah. So he's got the two Panzer IVs in the HQ, 4 Panzer IVs, and then he has 3 Tigers, 3 mobile wagons, 2 Pumas. Don't ask me; he's kind of a special person. But and then 2 of the smaller 234s, the Puma Scout with the 234s in it. The West and then the Panzer III OP, the luck card, and his favorite card, the Firefly, for 5 points.
Nice. I like the Firefly for 5 points too.
Yeah, it's a good card.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you have a co-pilot for the trip, and glad to see. Now, watching Joe Lewis did well with Panzer IVs lately, so watch him very well.
He dodged in that tournament too, and he smaller points definitely. No. We're going to try to, if there's a Southern Nationals this year in Georgia or Florida, I'm going to try to bring as many Panzer IV company players as I can to get just good odds.
Excellent. Well, I think
I'd like to join you with that. I might do it myself.
All right. Well, Bryan, do you have any more late-breaking intel?
So the list has been exhausted, and we will have a ringer, but we will have 18 players at the tournament. So there will be an even amount. And it's going to be a fun time. Please keep watch on Facebook. We're going to be posting there, just keeping everybody informed and answering questions if there are any. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll probably have this podcast that will be after the tournament. So hopefully those Facebook posts and videos they'll be able to access later on, and we can guide them to them. So where will they be posted under Facebook?
I'm working with Joe on that, so it'll probably be Battle Rankings. I think we're going to be streaming the live games there, as well as interactions, questions between games and stuff like that. And then the unofficial and official Flames of War pages, I'm going to try to keep those updated also.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the hard work. And again, let me just reiterate how impressed I am by your willingness to make a substantial road trip to come up here just to run this show for a bunch of yahoos that that's a pretty awesome event. I might do that for going up to Ohio or Indianapolis, but man, that's a big gut check to come all the way from Texas.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it speaks to the community that we have.
Yeah.
And I consider, everybody there good friends. It's something I felt important to make sure. Masters is such an important event for us here in North America that, if I could do something to help out and make sure that runs smoothly and let people enjoy themselves for that event, then I'm all for it, and I get to visit with friends, so it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, I'm with it. I appreciate it. And you also you'll at least get the black shirt. They're gonna.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool.
Yeah.
But are you gonna have to share that with your ringer though now?
Nah.
Nope. He is getting nothing, and he's going to enjoy it.
Although if the ringer is who I think it is, I'm looking forward to seeing him too.
Even days, odd days, right? You just rotate the shirt back and forth.
I think it would probably go all the way down to his knees. He's a lot thinner than I am. So,
well, guys, we really appreciate you joining us. This was quite a treat. First, to let our listeners get to know Bryan, and to have Erin come back. And Erin, one final question I have for you. Mm-hmm. So on our episode that we did with you, I think back in August when Soviet Bagration was released, how close is this 100-point list to? You gave us like 2 or 3 lists that you were thinking about. Is this pretty much one of those 3 lists?
It's definitely a variation of it. Like I was cheating and took a 3rd Hero shock rifle, which you used to be able to do, but you can't anymore. So it's very close. It's a few modifications. Like I don't think it had the ISUs in it or the SMGs, but it's very close. And a lot of the other ones I talked about were really considered too. And Bryan enjoyed the analysis paralysis that I went through here with too many options, with too many. That actually got added into the master's little fact document going around. Bad laugh.
Don't feel bad. It took me 3 or 4 attempts to send him just one of the list. For some reason he got 10 of them in the first push. 1 was missing, and then every time I tried to send him the missing one, I sent him a wrong one.
You'd be surprised how many people that happened to. Where they, Christian was one of them. Where he sent me 4 lists. I'm like, where's the other 7? And then he sent me like 4 more. I'm like, I'm still missing.
And if you were giving me flack, Bryan, about sending you one list, 1 page that had all 11 of them on it.
Yeah. I tell you what, it was in a spreadsheet though, and I had to transfer all that. That's what I was giving you flack about.
Well, I know Forces is a bit of a pain for data entry at times. Yes, I understand.
Sure. I figured as much, so it was no biggie for me to put in. But I am going to give you a little flack about it.
That's fine. I appreciate nothing less from friends. If you can't make jokes with friends, what's the point, right?
Right. Exactly.
Well, Bryan, Erin, thanks for joining Ed and I. And you guys drive safe. I guess it's day after tomorrow, right? This is Wednesday, so you'll be on the road, I expect, on Friday. And I'll be there Friday night setting up a table or 2, and hopefully I'll see you then. And definitely look forward to saying hello during the event and spending some time with you. So we appreciate it, and thanks for all you do for the Flames of War community.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and look forward to seeing everybody.
Target! Ceasefire!
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the results from the Masters, and let's tell me what you think about it. I mean, you were there, you did it. I just visited there and talked to Bryan and played him a game while we were there. But let's take a look at it, and I think our predictions we're not that off, I don't think. But the ending results, I think, when we get to the top of the list, are pretty surprising.
Okay. Well, we can start off at the bottom. We actually there were supposed to have been 18 players. 3 dropped for various reasons. I know at least some had dropped because not that they had COVID, but because they had come in contact with people who had COVID and so had to quarantine. So thank you for ahead and opting out of participating in that circumstance. We appreciate that. 2 of the slots we did not refill, but we did replace one of them with JB Cedarberg, whose dad was already coming to Masters. So it was easy for him to just drive down with his father. And he was like in the top 20 of the rankings. So he was and I know they asked some other folks before that, like Chris Grau was invited, but he couldn't come because of work. So things just kind of bumped down to where he was able to come. So good news for him. He got to participate in the U.S. Masters with his father. That's the good news. Bad news is didn't go so well for him. He came in 16th, 16th out of 16 players. We didn't have his in the previous segment. We didn't know he was going to be filling in at that point. The other players we lost were Tim McClellan, David Vieger, and Andrew Hobson. And so JB Cedarberg was going to be running an ISU regiment. But we don't have the exact composition of that. So who came in next to last there, Ed?
William White, and I believe he's the guy from Virginia, wasn't he?
He is, and he's running the D-Day British Churchill Squadron with like he always does. Mm-hmm. And then next from him was John Meyer, our friend from Ohio. Yes. John was running German D-Day. He ran the Beach Defense Company, only guy that ran those.
I figured that would actually have done better.
He had bad luck. I know that he had said at one point that he said that he had failed 21 cross checks with his Tigers. I'm like, what? You rolled 21 ones? That's a lot of cross checks. What were you playing in a swamp board? So there might be some exaggeration there, but I'm sure the gist is that he was just having an abysmal day with dice. And then coming in above him at 13th was some schmuck named Tom Burgess.
Who's this guy? Tom Burgess.
Yeah, with the T-3485 battalion. I'll talk about that after we go through the rundown here.
Okay. All right. Number 12 thoughts. Then we have James Best.
Yep.
Senior,
right?
Yes. Okay. And he was playing the British Rifle Company.
Yep. Which he has been a lot of this year. So,
yes.
And then above him at 11th place was
Christian Sorensen.
Yep, who is from California. I did get a chance to meet him. In fact, I played him in my last round, and I'll talk about that shortly, too.
And he also was playing British Rifle Company.
Yep, he was. And he had actually a main formation was Rifle Company, but when I played him, he had a Rifle Company and a second formation of the Daimler Dingo Reconnaissance Squadron.
Yeah.
So he had two. And then at 10th place,
we have Erin McChesky Preston.
Yep, who was on this podcast earlier.
Hero Shock Rifle Battalion.
Yeah, and he was all about the competition between the Hero Shock Rifle Battalion and the Hero Motor Rifle Battalion on which one was best. So
I think this answers the question.
Well, not quite. He didn't do as well. Some other folks may have done well. So that jury's still out.
Okay.
So above him was Michael Cran.
Yeah.
Who I had a chance to play. And,
he had that unique force of the American armored rifles and the Italian Churchills.
Yes. I liked the way his force, the 100-point level. Now, when I played him, we were actually at he was at the 95-point level, and I was the 105-point level. And so he didn't have his Churchill squadron with him in that game, so I didn't get a chance to play that. He replaced them with a platoon of M10s and a platoon of 76 millimeter M4 Shermans.
Do you remember how that went for you?
Yeah, I lost. I'll talk about that. Then at the 8th place, now we're getting into the top half here, the top half of the 16 players. So who do we have at 8?
So we got James Best Jr. at 8th place with his Churchill regiment.
Yep.
And that came out of the Fortress Europe book. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't even use the Bagration. Well, the Churchill regiment's not in Bagration, but so he stuck with the Churchill. It's Soviet Churchills, and God, I think he had he had 4 companies of 4 with a headquarters. So he was running around with 17 Churchills. Some IS-2s to boot, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. The number 7, Keith Gilmore from Minneapolis. Oh, by the way, James Best Jr. and Senior are from out east in Virginia. They live in the Louisa area. It's kind of between Richmond and Charlottesville, kind of south central Virginia, if you will. And the Crans are from Minneapolis. Michael, his dad's going to be on here in a minute too. And Keith Gilmore is from Minneapolis. So, and Erin McChesky Preston is from Atlanta. So we kind of we forgot to mention where these
Yes.
heroes were from. But
Okay.
we're cut back up to speed now for this. And Keith was running the D-Day Germans with the 116th Panzer Grenadier. You know, the Panzer Grenadiers with the 116th Panzer Grenadier Division command card. So which you're going to find is going to be quite popular.
Yes.
And
Sixth place, we have Chris Jackson playing the Soviet Hero Motor Rifle Battalion. And so there's the conflict. So he actually did do better than Erin on that one.
He did better than Erin.
Yeah.
And by the way, I played Chris on the second day, so that was a nice experience, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But just above him at fifth place was Chris Fretz from Indianapolis. Oh, by the way, Chris Jackson from North Carolina. He's out near the Fort Bragg area.
Yeah.
And Chris Fretz from Able Company, Indianapolis. He was running the Soviet Bagration Hero Shock Rifle Battalion. So
There it is.
So he had the highest placing force out of those twos. And Chris had 30 points overall, Chris Jackson 28, and then Erin had 24. So we only had one Hero Shock Rifle unit though, so we needed another one to kind of give us the average here. So I think the debate is still on.
Oh, okay. Or there's at least an excuse to have the debate still.
All right.
Okay, fourth place we have Nathan Cran, and he played the 116th Panzer Grenadiers as well.
He did
with 32 points. Where is Nathan from, Tom?
He's Minneapolis. He's one of the. I think they're calling themselves Army Group North now. So they have a name. I guess Army Group North is appropriate for the frozen tundra from which they hail.
Canadian guys from Leningrad, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So well, I didn't get the chance to play Nathan, but I did chat with him a good bit. So it's great to meet him and his son Michael.
Okay.
Who do we have at third?
Joe Lewis from Indianapolis also. He was in third place with his D-Day British Desert Rat Force, Desert Rat Rifles.
Yeah. They're reluctant. They're less than on a 5+ guys. But yeah. Yep. And I had a chance to play him also. I guess out of 16 players, I played 6 of them, so that's over a third. So, and then second place, Vincent Arroyo.
Yeah.
Vincent is. Remember him? We had him on our first podcast interview.
That's right.
He's from El Paso, Texas area, and he flew on up for this, and I loved his force. He's a guy that just carves out different forces. And we just talked about this in the previous section. Just to remind everybody, he ran D-Day Waffen SS in infantry with hardly any tanks, and ended up coming in second and was a strong contender for first place. But who had it first place there, Ed? Who had
for
full
first place, we had John Cederberg playing this D-Day German 116th Infantry.
Yeah, he came on top, and John is also a Army Group North Minneapolis team member up there, so definitely worth the trip for him. And congratulations to John and everybody. It's a great event, great honor just to even get into Masters, just to be able to be there with those players, and certainly to come into the top half is a pretty sound accomplishment given the caliber of players that are there. And to come in on top of that whole list, that's pretty remarkable feat. So well done. So what do you think in terms of the list? Now we have let's just go through the top 5. We had at number 1 German Panzer Grenadiers 116th, number 2 Waffen SS Panzer Grenadiers, number 3 Desert Rats Rifle Company, number 4 Panzer Grenadier, again D-Day German
116th, yeah.
Yep. And then number 5, barely getting into that top 5, the Hero Shock Rifle Battalion. So any trends or things jump out you there, Ed?
Even number 6, we got another rifle battalion. What jumps out is infantry. Even 7 is Panzer Grenadier infantry. 7 of the top. The first 7 on the top 7 there are all infantry.
Right.
Ooh.
So you have to go all the way down to 8th place before you see a tank formation at the top. And how many times have we been told this game is nothing but attack with tanks, that defending with infantry is not a viable option?
I know.
You've seen that on forums and Facebook. It's so people just had no concept of this game. It just took a while for people to understand how it works, and some people obviously are quicker at getting at it than others. And what we're seeing is that I don't know what everybody chose. The event itself was, in terms of mission stance, the event itself was use the more missions book, and you chose your stance just like normal, and you and your opponent, and then you rolled off to see which mission you're going to fight. So I don't know that all of these guys all pick defend all the time, but I know that Keith Gilmore did. He picked defend 6 out of 6 times, and he did well in the event with his 1/16th Panzer Grenadiers. So I imagine these other guys. I know Vincent Arroyo is a pretty defensive player. Sometimes, when he played the Las Vegas Open, I think he went defense on almost all the rounds of that event. So I'll try to get more analysis for that. I'm sorry we don't have that at this early stage, but just interesting to see how that goes out. And another thing with the German list, what's the number one trend we see with that?
With the German list?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of 88s in there, a lot of flak nest.
Yes. 88s and pack front. Pack front is a thing. Yeah. So you see a lot of that, and they normally would tend to have pack front and just a couple Tigers, no other tanks. They also tend to use the 1/16th Panzer Grenadier card, and that card saves a point per unit in the formation, but reduces their last stand to a 5+. Well, that's not so good for armored vehicles, but for infantry, 5+ last stand. You had 7 or 8 or 9 teams, and you get whittled down to 2 teams left. They're pretty much done anyways. They've done their job, so it's not, we're happy to see them run off at that point, pretty much. So you see that. What about the British? What kind of trend do you see in the top British list?
I'm seeing a lot of Churchills, but I also see a lot of M10 17-pounders.
Yeah,
it's more than one. I'm seeing 2 platoons.
Yeah, double units.
Yeah.
That's the most. I think the most common British tank we saw was the M10 Charlie in the tournament. Yes, some other people had some crocodiles, Churchill crocodiles mixed in, and then of course we had the Italy Churchill squadron and William White's squadron of Churchills, the D-Day ones. So yeah, the crocodiles are a big thing, and the M10s, and a combination of crocodiles and M10s backing up good solid infantry with mortars and Typhoon air support. Pretty good combined arms package, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, some big trends there with those. For the Soviets, the highest Soviet one we had, which is interesting because we always talk about meta creep and creep and with the forces, and
Chris Fretz.
Didn't really happen. I mean, 5th place of Chris Fretz, and he had pretty average day on first day, so he must have made up a little bit more distance on the second day. I think he only won one game on his first day, and he's got a good combined arms force. But as far as the new book being the new meta, no, people are still doing well with forces that from earlier books, to include the Fortress Europe book.
Yeah.
Yep. So pretty cool breakdown. I was kind of interested to see how this stuff all worked, and I thought that the 1/16th pack front combination might not do as well, because that's not particularly new. I mean, we've seen that for several months now, and I was expecting at the Masters level that more people would have had an idea of how to take that on. So in any case, so do you want to hear about my games?
Yeah, let's hear about it.
Okay.
And your unique experience there.
Yeah. So I had fun. I didn't do well, as you can tell, since I was 3rd from last. I only won 2 of the 6 games. I will say that my list that we covered earlier in this podcast was fun. T-34-85 battalion. I running around with usually 15 or 17 T-34s all with 85 millimeter guns, all moving 12 inches a turn with 2-inch cross checks. That's fun. they are mobile and they hit hard. So I really enjoyed that force, and I want to get more out of it and get more practice with it and do better with it in the future.
Yeah, but, you have the standard T-34 floors. You didn't have the Heroes.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Ed. The Heroes are more expensive, and the Heroes come in smaller units, but they have the better tactics rating, which is great. But the regular T-34-85s have the better last stand. They're 3+ last stand, and they're both hit on 3s. So I don't know that I really like the Heroes in terms of giving up those extra gun barrels, and a little harder to use the bigger formation, a little bit less wieldy, a little harder to fit into gaps and between buildings and all that kind of stuff. And that did hurt me a little bit. But I like the horde of tanks. I like the horde of hard hitting tanks, kind of like the Soviets are in Team Yankee. So I'm digging them, and I want more of them. But I didn't really get. There are two things I wanted to do with this force. I wanted to run T-34-85s, which I did. I wanted to use the under the cover of smoke card. So I had that in every single one of my list options. And I wanted to use Tanko Desanecki, for that command card, so that my submachine gunners could dismount and charge off the tanks during the assault phase. And that whole concept or vision, that didn't really play out very well. That didn't work. Smoke really only helped me in one game. So I'm not so sold on that. My Sturmovix that I had, air's pretty cool to have threatening, but I think I would have been better off if I could have traded air for some Katyusha rockets.
Right.
I think
with all the infantry they brought, I would say that would be the case.
Yeah. So basically I went in. I had never played this force before until I got there. But fine. We didn't get a chance to do any practice games with it or anything like that. And some of the concepts and ideas I had took a little while to kind of get going. So the first couple games were pretty rough for me. And maybe the best way to run it down is just to go over the games in very brief detail. So my first round was against Keith Gilmore. And, of course, he chose defend, as we mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I chose attack. He's infantry, I'm tank. And we rolled up no retreat. And I tried to use my smoke in that game as a deception. So I tried to lay the smoke in an area I did not intend to go, thinking that I might catch him off guard in the other area. Not the case. When the board is only 4 feet across, wide, because you're coming, playing lengthwise, it's not hard for those 88s to cover everywhere. So really, I got kind of bogged down in a city area and ended up. I did destroy 2 of his pack nests, and I did destroy a transport platoon and his stumble unit, which was his ambush unit, the stumble half tracks. And I just could not bring all those guns to bear and focus. And I think my smoke actually hindered me in that battle. I hoped it would be somewhat of a deception, but basically it kept me from getting fields of fire with, I had 17 T-34-85s. I couldn't shoot any more than half of them any given turn. So that was kind of a waste of firepower for me. And I ended up losing it on turn 6 just for being too far away from the objective. I really could not push close enough to get there. And by the time I had dealt with the flak nest on the one flank, the Tigers had showed up from reserves. So things just started going south from there. So that game was a defeat. And that's the one thing I liked most about my list was that there are no draws. You do not draw with that list. You either win or you lose. My second game was against Joe Lewis on the exact same board. And he's playing British rifles with Churchills and M10s. And, I didn't complain about being on the same board. I think it was an oversight, but I didn't like the board. But I thought, well, at least now I know it. Now I so let's go ahead and see if I can do it better. I did it even worse. So with Joe, I got a 7-2 against Keith. With Joe, I ended up, a 2-7 against Keith. Joe, I ended up as a 1-8. I did destroy one M10 platoon and had another M10 platoon down to its last tank or two. last tank. It had 2 tanks at the end. But yeah, and that one I tried to go towards my smoke and use it a little bit more, but still it just got in my way, and it just wasn't panning out for me on that one. So hard loss there. Then game number 3 that night was against James Best Jr., and we both picked attack, and we both we ended up with breakthrough. So we rolled off the attacker, and I ended up getting the attacker, which probably is the reason I won that game. So I was able to mass. It was a largely open board. I was able to use the T-34s like a big, fleet of ships, just sweeping across, doing a kind of almost like a sweeping motion from my deployment zone into one of his deployment zones and then towards the objective area. And so I was able to roll through his Churchill platoons or / companies one at a time and kind of defeat him in piecemeal. And then the thing that won the game for me, though, on turn 6 was my reserves had come in, the delayed reserves and breakthrough for the attacker. They kind of come in on the back corner. So it was just my little Weasley BA-64s, and they just came in on turn 4, parked by the objective, and waited till turn 6. And James totally lost sight of the mission objectives, was totally focused on the forward fight, completely forgot about him. And to be fair, it was kind of hard to see back there from his side of the board because there were some trees and some buildings. I mean, literally his visibility of those models. I mean, he certainly moving there and do there. And I kind of felt like going into turn 5, I need to tell him, hey, by the way, if you don't move this, you're going to lose, And but then I thought, well, this is a master's level event. This is you get judged on your attention to detail, and if you kind of skip a groove and don't pay attention to it at a master's level, I think in a normal tournament against a more average player, I probably would have said, hey man, you don't want to leave that objective out there all by itself because I'm about to win next turn if you don't do something about it. And but in this case, because of this type of event, this high caliber, I didn't tell him. But what I did was all through turn 5, I was like, okay, done moving for turn 5. Okay, done shooting for turn 5. Okay, completely done for turn 5. So I hinted that it was turn 5 multiple times just to see if he would pick up on it, and he did not. So any case, but what we decided to do was to continue playing the game. We thought he just wanted to see how he would have come out in the slugfest. So I said, sure, let's keep playing. So we had agreed that the game was going to be scored at that point, but we kept playing. And then about 2 turns later, I broke his formation anyways. So it was going to resolve as a victory for me anyways, whether I had taken the objective or broken his force slightly later, it still would have happened. So that was all good. And then day 2 on Sunday morning, I played Michael Cran, and without his Italy component, his Italy Churchill component, and that game was tough. We did what is the game? Bridgehead, where he's in a box and you can kind of come down the flanks with some recon, some spearhead. Right. Mm-hmm. So I did that with the BA-64s. I spearheaded all of those TA-34-85s right down on his right flank, and turn 1, they just came whipping around a corner and caught an ARP still mounted in half tracks and did some pretty serious damage to him. So that was great. And then he had the random reserves that kept popping in on that same corner. So, and fortunately for me, they came in one at a time instead of together. So his Shermans came in first. They whacked a couple T-34-85s. Then all of the T-34-85s that were left turned around and whacked them. Rinse and repeat the next turn when the M10s show up. So I got the upper hand in the tank battle pretty quickly, but then, oh my God, he still had 3 full armored rifle platoons to deal with, like 5 bazookas per platoon. So it was, yeah. And yeah, my mortars just couldn't kill him quick enough. And I could not assault them fast enough. I'm shooting main guns, shooting mortars, but trying to pick out the bazooka teams. And they're only trained, for God's sakes. It's not like they're particularly hard to hit when they're gone to ground. I mean, they need 5s, but I got enough rolls. But I just was not killing those bazookas quick enough. And so I was not going to win the game. Time was running out. But I was contesting. I had 2 T-34-85s within 8 inches of the objective. So it looked like it was going to be a draw. So Bryan came up and said, "Hey, you guys, this is the last round. If you both can't do another turn, wrap it up now." So he was bottom of that turn, so that was going to be the last bit. So Michael snuck across his own minefields with two teams that had to withstand 8 machine gun shots from the 2 T-34s to go try to get in a close combat and knock them out. So 2 hits per team. I only did 4 hits, did not pin them, and destroyed the bazooka team, but the infantry team still made contact and didn't do any damage. Perfectly fine. But then I rolled a counterattack, and what I get?
Ones.
A 3. So they broke off, and he won the game. So anyway, so congratulations to him. That was meant to be. I mean, if you're gonna kind of pull up, but it was looking like it was going to be a 3-1 draw for me, but it ended up being a 3-6 loss. So I got all the points I was going to get one way or another. And I'll tell you, this game is the one that convinced me that my Sturmovix need to be replaced by Katyushas. I just did not have enough firepower to hammer. I only had the 4+ mortars and the 4+ 76 millimeter guns. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to keep that artillery unit, I think I need to replace them with the 122s, and I think the Sturmovix need to be replaced with Katyushas or something else that can bombard that can help me whittle down those big infantry formations. So I went from that game, and then I had played Chris Jackson. And Chris running the Hero Motor Rifle Battalion. And in this game, we rolled up, I attacked and he defended. And we ended up with rear guard, right? Where he has all his forces on the board and he has to start pulling them off. And this honestly was my best performance out of the whole tournament. So, I already know I'm not going to be placing well. I'm just trying to get what I can, for practice and enjoyment out of it. And in this one, my smoke screen actually worked. It really disrupted his ability to ambush me. And so he had a unit of 8 T-34-85s, just like I had 2 of them. And he was expecting that unit in ambush to whack at least one of my units and then face the other one on kind of more even grounds. And he opened up with those T-34-85s. Now the smoke and his trying to get them interwoven with his already in place infantry limited him. He could only get 5 of them into the line of sight for the ambush. So he had to ambush with 5/8 of the unit. 3 of the unit had just had to wait behind the smoke screen for the next turn. Mm-hmm. But that's still 10 shots. That's still 10 shots that hit on 3 vehicles. And he ended up getting 9 hits out of those 10 shots. But so he's feeling pretty good, right? He's like, oh yeah, I whacked the heck out of this platoon. And then we go through the saves, and I only saved 1 of them. And then he punches through the rest and destroys only 2 of them. And so the remaining 5 are bailed. so with my commander nearby to get them right back up. So that ambush really was a big whiff for him. And that was, that's turn 1 of the game. And that was the decisive shift. After that, it was pretty much me just grinding them down, a little jockeying back and forth. Me losing units stupidly because I was pushing my ZSU 17s up too closely, and kind of little deception efforts that just didn't pan out other than to lose points. And eventually, I had to go assaulting in against hedgerows and a bunch of cross checks, which the T-34s didn't care about. But those 2 big platoons, even though they need 5+ to hit in close combat, which is another reason why people like the hero tanks better than the normal T-34s, because the heroes hit on 4s in combat, whereas the T-34, the normal ones hit on 5s. But man, if you got 8 hulls going in, I'll take the 5s, and you only have to kill a couple infantry stands each turn. And so I basically was able to slowly wear him down, and ended up breaking his big motor rifle company that was guarding the objective that I was focusing on. I did trick him. I did make a feint to the other objective, and that caused his company commander to try to displace to go help that other formation because it was in trouble, that other company. And I caught him in the open and got him all sorts of machine gunned. so without his commander to help him re-roll those morale checks and re-roll those counterattacks, I was able to push him out of the holes and get up in his grill and eventually break that unit. and I won the game with about 20 minutes left to go. So that was fun. Beating a high caliber opponent like Chris is always a treat when you get a chance to do it. But most importantly, it was fun because the list got to do what it was designed to do. And that was really the only game where I felt like I competently handled it. And then my last game was Christian Sorensen. And I got to say, that was the worst Flames of War game I ever played in my entire life. Completely, no fault of Christian. He's a fine fellow. You'd love him, man. He's quite personable and quite talkative. So he's extremely knowledgeable in the rules, and we'll come to that later on. But I certainly learned a lot from him. But oh my gosh. So I'm thinking I've been attacking all tournament long. He's playing infantry also, and I'm thinking, oh man, I need to get him out in the open. I don't want to play another, no retreat or rear guard or bridgehead. I've been doing that all tournament, so I'm trying to get something other than that mission set of 3 possible missions, right? So I assume he's going to defend, but no, he picked attack, and I picked maneuver, and so we rolled off and we got contact, which was an absolutely horrible mission for me to try to pull off against his force, because I only had my 8 T-34s from my main first company, the headquarters, T-3485, my 76 millimeter artillery pieces on the board, and then my SMG guys. I mean, and I was all spread out, and my reserves are delayed, and and scattered to boot. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just going to be a miracle if I could pull this off. And then I kind of thought, well, if I can get my reserves on turn 3, there's a chance. But for some reason, because I've been attacking every game, I thought I was the first player. So I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll get my reserves first on turn 3. Dummy. I'm the second player. I'm not going to have a chance. So I'm not going to have a chance to contest the objective, even a chance to roll to contest the objective on the beginning of his turn 3. So basically, I totally, screwed the pooch on that one, and and went off in the wrong direction. I mean, it was like total bonehead move. And so there was no recovering from that. So I realized already at that point, oh my God, I just totally foobarred this. So I went for victory points. I whacked his AVRE platoon and was trying to bear down on his he had a reconnaissance platoon there, a dingo unit. So I'm just looking for cheap points. But he got his in turn 2. He rolled both dice for reinforcements and got both his M10s in on the board. And almost whacked one. Yeah, almost took out one of them, but not quite. so that game was a pretty humiliating 1-8 defeat that occurred in 3 turns. He had a perfectly sound, normal attack plan. You can't take any away from him on that. But man, did I just serve it to him on a silver platter. Not only because I was in the hole to begin with because of the situation, the force matchup, and the mission selection. But then I totally zigged when I should have zagged, and that was just a complete, abysmal meltdown. But, it was the 6th round after 2 long days of gaining, and, it was good to chat with Christian afterwards, and it's all good. Big learning experience, though. And I guess don't pick maneuver against infantry formations thinking that you might catch them out in the open, because just learn to get good at the defensive battles and taking down the bridgehead, the no retreat, and the rear guard, because do not want to be caught as a tank company defending against anything in contact. It's just not a good scenario. So anyways, but fun. Learned a lot. Had a good deal. And looking forward to it in the future. And so let's any other questions about that, Ed? Or
yeah, I want to bring up one other thing. Sure. I'd like to thank Bryan for traveling all the way up from Texas.
Yes.
And he came. He didn't play. He just ran the tournament.
Yeah.
And I mean, he and I played a game while you guys were doing that for a bit. And
you played on Sunday, right?
Yes. And so good guy, really good guy, and I look forward to him coming back up. He says he wants to come up for our Wolf Crag this year, so we'll be seeing him again.
Yep, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I gave him my appreciation, and We're probably going to have limited slots for Wolf Craig due to, I'm sure we're just going to have the COVID situation, so that
Right.
Wolf Craig will not be a 50-player event. He has earned a slot, so we need to make sure he has the option of attending if he wants to be there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We'll do so. Well, all right. Well, let's move into something new. Instead of rules and forgot, instead of that, we'll have rules nobody knew except for some guy in California. So, anyways,
California.
yeah, California. On the Santa Monica Boulevard, down the I-5.
Take a 101.
Yeah, to the exit 12. Yeah. So let me give you a scenario here, Ed.
Okay.
Imagine that this is really good radio. So go with me, close your eyes. Here's the visual.
Imagine. Okay, got it.
Imagine that there's a building on the board and you have a tank and you're trying to use that building for concealment. So you poke that tank around the corner of the building just a little bit to get the gun barrel turned around. Do you think that building is giving that vehicle concealment?
Well, it is, as long as not half of the tank is poking out.
Yeah. Yes, it is concealed. It is concealed.
Okay.
So now let's replace the building with a little clump of woods. Now the tank is not in the woods. The tank is slightly behind the woods, but you see no more of it than you would have seen of it poking out around the building.
Mm-hmm.
Is that tank concealed?
Yes. What's the difference?
Do. Oh, is that your final answer?
It's the same thing.
Oh, is that your final answer?
Yes.
You don't want to phone a friend?
I don't have any friends, Tom.
You don't have a lifeline here? No, that tank is not concealed.
What?
Yeah. So exactly. So this was a shocker. So here we are at the Flames of War Masters. 16 of the top players in the nation. Awesome. And not a single one of them understood this rule except for Christian Sorensen, the guy from California.
California.
Yeah. So what happens is that if you go to the rule book, oh man, I should have had this thing open. The line of sight rules is that if you're partially obscured by tall terrain, the line of sight is from buildings or hills. It explicitly says buildings and hills, not trees, which are also tall terrain.
So buildings and hills are solid.
I guess that's one way to look at it, Ed. That's a pretty good thought that this maybe has something to do with the density of the material. But yeah, so you get concealment from the building, you get concealment from the hill, but you do not get concealment from being parked around the corner of the trees. Now, if you're totally in the trees, that's always a different story. But yeah, that's how that works in Flames of War version 4. Pretty awesome, huh?
Wow. I've been playing it wrong the whole time. It's been 3 or 4 years?
Hey, don't feel bad, Ed. 15 out of 16 Masters players have been playing it wrong for the last 4 years. So it was amazing, and basically had to have a kind of just a massive, what do you call that? Quantum shift and reasoning here. It kind of blew everybody's mind. So go ahead and check it out, everybody out there in the radio listening audience. Go look at the rule book and check it out, and you can thank Christian Sorensen for ruining your day. But no, I suppose maybe, and this is the point of this though, is to bring up that if you want to get good at this game, you need to travel. You need to go play with other people. You just cannot be playing the same people you play all the time, because you develop your own little local interpretation of the rules, if you will. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, that's not how we play that. And I'm like, well, that's because you guys in Idaho here aren't quite doing it right. Let me explain to you where you have gone astray. So you have to go out, and sometimes you have to learn these lessons the hard way. But that's really the only way you're going to get proficient at these rules, is to go immerse yourself with other people who have different perspectives. And sometimes their perspectives are wrong, but sometimes your perspectives are wrong. And you got to be open to listen and learn and revise your mindset. And that's what these top players at this event do. They seek out and go to other events. They try to play good players at other events, and they really get to see, the game inside out. And if you just play in your little, insular circle of friends, you really don't get that exposure and knowledge and perception and understanding. So, he may not have done he did better than me in the standings, but Christian may have not been at the top of the list. But I will say that he clearly showed that he is really the savant when it comes to rules knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so good thought there. All right, well, we're getting close. You've heard a lot of us babbling here. Let's go into future ops. What do we got coming up here in the near future, Ed?
Okay, let me switch screens now. Okay, future ops. And let's see what we got. We got we'll start with the December 5th. We have the 11th annual Toys for Tots at Able Company as an 80-point late war.
Yep.
He's calling it the Iron Man. So what's that all about?
Indiana. Oh, yeah. So Iron Man, it's in Indianapolis, just for starters. Family Time Games is a store. And so this is a Toys for Tot event and Tots. And Joe Lewis is running it. And, of course, he's trying to generate as many possible toys from this event. So the way this works is if you lose a platoon, that platoon is gone for the rest of the tournament. Yeah. Unless you have an extra donation of a toy for Tots to make to the collection there.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
they're gonna collect a lot of toys.
Yeah, you and I would have to come in with a trunk full of toys here.
I'll have to raid Santa's sack.
I mean, heck, sometimes I'll lose 5 or 6 platoons a game, man. Imagine if you're running a armored car squadron and you've got all these little 2.3 point units running around and they're getting whacked.
Nope.
Yeah, so that's going to be a pretty tough tournament. Good Lord, that could be very expensive to participate in.
Yeah, I think so.
and do well. So it'll be a good deal, but it's for a good cause and it'll be fun. And they have a good crew up there, so I'm sure they'll get a lot out of it. So also on that same day, well, let's save that for last because I want to hear what you're planning for that.
Okay, all right.
So there's another. Well, we'll come back to it, but we'll go ahead and cover that in Skoda Fest, 5 December out there.
5 December is in Greenville, South Carolina.
Well,
they run that every year, and it's a good event. It's well attended. And a good bunch of group that comes in there. I'll be seeing some of these guys from Masters there as well.
Oh yeah, Erin Macheski, Preston will be there, and it's Macheski Preston.
Macheski,
yeah. And it's in Taylor, South Carolina, which I guess is a Greenville suburb or something.
Well, that's where he sends the message from. It's actually in the stores downtown.
Okay.
So that threw me off too, because when I went there last year, I showed up at the karate academy, and all these 8-year-old kids were looking at me like here comes a new target. Let's kick his butt. And, and I call who was it? I called the
Bryan Beaucamp, the guy that runs it.
Yes. And I called him up. I go, hey, you got to save me. I'm obviously in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of kids getting ready to kick my butt.
Well, that's what he posted on the Flames of War forum. So There you go. Anyways, and then let's roll into January. So we know 2 of events in January so far.
Oh yeah. That's mine. I'm running a Team Yankee thing here in Elizabethtown called the Red New Year. And it's going to be a Team Yankee 105 pointer.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And one we skipped over, a late ad, I just found out about it today. On January 2nd in Newark, Ohio, at the Game Table Adventures, John Myers running a 105-point Team Yankee event too. So we may have a chance to do back-to-back gaming. We may have to consider that road trip there, Ed.
I think we can, because that falls in the holiday time period, and I think we might be able to swing that.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, hopefully. But we've been trying to get up there. This might be the one, and it might be a good warm-up for your event. So those are the 4 events we have coming up that we know of. But before we get into breaking contact here, what are you going to run at Skoda Fest?
Well, I tell you what, your experience with the T-34 or 85s is affecting my decision now. I thought I pretty much anchored it in, and then I also played Bryan, the force that I was intending to go against, but I have a diversified force, and I had 122 artillery, I had Katyushas, and I had the double mortars, which was enough, I thought, to handle the infantry and stuff.
The double. You mean the 6-pack of 82 millimeter mortars?
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I thought I had enough of that, but I ended up going against his force, and his force was an armor force, and all I had were my 9 T-34 85s, but I was playing the Hero, and so and I had those, and I had a couple of OT-34s. And so those were they have. I mean, the 18-9 was bad. He had a Chaffee force that he converted from a version 3 booklet. Okay, so he had a Chaffee one. So I could still do something against him, but it did not work out well. And so I was thinking just the opposite of what your experience was. You were wishing you had Katyushas, and in this case, I was wishing I had the IL-2s there.
That's a good point. Trust me, I preferred my Sturmovix to Katyushas when I played against James Best Jr.'s Churchills. They're much more useful to me there. But in every other game, the Katyushas would have been a better choice because I just fought infantry. I mean, I fought 5 infantry formations and 1 tank formation. And I think that's what you're going to see the top players continuing to run. So I don't think you can take that experience as a typical one. In fact, Bryan's ringer list that he was running was deliberately meant to be just this easy run Panzer IV, Tiger kind of mix, and to be small and something that wouldn't be too engrossing for a TO to play if he had to play in the same event he was running. So I don't think you'll see that force in. I agree with you. I don't think I'm going to see it, especially if we broadcast this prior to the 5th of December and everybody notices that, hey, everybody's taking infantry list and winning. Yeah, well, I think they know that whether we broadcast it or not.
Well, I don't know, but I think they got a better chance of figuring it out now, and I think I might end up having to rethink
Erin will be there, and he'll probably be still playing his Hero Shock rifles.
Yeah.
So I don't think Masters is changing his perspectives too much. So.
Yeah, well, so I may just go ahead and stick with what my original plan was.
Yeah.
The other weakness of my plan, though, was I don't have any heavy-hitting guns.
So what was your force? You only told us about your support, and then you had some T-34 85s. What else did you have?
Oh, I had the standard formation for the T-34 85s.
Oh, okay. So you did run T-34 85 tank formation.
Yes, the Heroes.
Oh, okay. Oh, Heroes. Okay.
I've got OT-34s, BA-64s.
Now, why are you running OT-34s? I know they're a decent, with the flames, and they still got the 18-9 gun. I know that they're, but don't you think you need more stuff in your core formation?
Oh well, yeah. In the formation, I have here's the core formation: the 2 platoons of 4 T-34s plus the commander. Those are all my T-34 85s. I got the Zoo. I got a Hero submachine gun, which is next to nothing, and then the double mortar 6-pack there.
Okay.
All right. That's it. In support, I had.
Yeah, you had the 122s, the Katyushas.
And the OTs, some BAs.
Yeah, the OTs.
Let's see what else. And that's it. And so that was it.
How many OT-34s did you have?
I had 6.
And how much do they cost in points?
6 cost 6 cost like 15.
Yeah,
yes.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, they're cheap. Yeah, and that's why I took them. But it also had an anti-infantry capability. So I was looking at. I mean, that force is really good against infantry, But my worry is going against tanks, and that's exactly what he showed up with. So, I mean, if I went to Masters with the list I had, I think I would have been happy with it.
Yeah. No, I think in most cases there were really only a handful of tank forces. But on the other hand, Tigers and Churchills were out there.
Yeah.
And, you have nothing to crack open those cans like I did. Now, and I didn't either. My best gun was the 85 millimeter gun, but I had a bunch of hulls and I could easily flank. But you don't have as many hulls.
I don't have that.
Your guys are still hit on threes, and if there's only 4 tanks per platoon, it's not going to be too hard for them to get whittled down to where they're pretty much done.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So if I fight a tank force, I'm going to be hurting. Now I got to take 5 points worth of cards, and like you, I had the undercover of smoke. For 3 points, and I gave my little submachine guys the RPG 6s.
Okay.
And then I also had one other card, the luck card. So. Yeah.
So maybe we won't have any time for you to practice. We'll come back from Thanksgiving and off you go. So I'm just thinking the undercover smoke is really hard to use effectively. But if you're going to have the 122s anyways, sure, why not? Bring them along. But you might look at can you take another unit of Hero T-3485s, another company?
I could. It's 18 points though, and it's going to take away my other support though.
Okay, well this is what I'm going to tell you is that the 122 battery is what like 13, 14 points.
Nope, it's 8 points.
Oh, that's all.
Only 8 points. Katyushas are 8 points. The 122s are 8 points.
Well, and then you've got the 3-point upgrade card.
Yeah, for the smoke.
So
right.
So they're technically 11 points. So I don't know. Maybe you could shave off a T-3485, OT-64, and replace
they're
those.
So cheap. 2 and 3 points. They alternate. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3.
Well, I'm just saying I loved having 15 or 17. I didn't play any lower than 95 points, and I didn't play any higher than 110 points. And I either had 15 or 17 T-3485s. I love that.
I know. I like it too. And I played that on the road to Minsk with you one battle.
Yeah.
And that's the one I actually won with. So.
Yep. Can't argue with a big bunch of. Maybe if you look at the T-34 units that are mixed, that have the 76s and 85s together, you can get some more hulls in there. Shift hits to the 76 guns, and as you can, just take a target. So that might get you a few more vehicles. So now I think your list is okay. I think you're probably okay for general combat. I like the fact that and you said you have Katyushas and the 122s and the mortars.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got 2 tank units, actually 3 tank units that can keep the infantry pinned down from moving around. So you can really threaten and keep them in their positions and hammer the crap out of them with bombardment. So you got potential there.
Yeah, and I had that practice of fighting you with those 88 nests and all that kind of stuff, and and so I think with the artillery, if they decide to do the same kind of list that they brought to Masters, I think it will do well.
Okay.
But it's just my fear is running into an armored unit.
I don't think you have to worry about that too much. There's not that many of us out there at the higher. Well, you're not going to see someone running Panzer IVs and Tigers as their formation. That's just too easy to beat by other lists. So that Ringer list again is an anomaly. It's not designed to be super competitive. It's just supposed to be something easy to get out there. So don't take too much into that the way that worked out. That being said, there are guys that run around with a bunch of Churchills. There are guys that run around with a bunch of T-3485s, and you can have similar results against those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I travel, I like to take the easy cleanup and setup group, and so I like Panzer IVs and those kind of things when I travel.
Yeah.
But, I favor the Grenadiers at least the past 2 years.
So
but we haven't done a lot of traveling this past year.
So are you going to at least stick with Russians for Skoda Fest?
Right. Yeah, I did. I've already committed to Russians.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll look forward on the next podcast to see how it goes. But we've been going on a good bit now, so I think it's about time for us to wrap this up. What do you say?
Okay, that's great. Yeah, this is episode 12, and we only got one more to do here. So then we're going to think, hey, are we going to continue this again next year?
Yep.
So something to think about for the next podcast.
So give us some feedback. NoDiceNoGlory.com, the forums there. Let us know. There's an area for podcast feedback, or send us a email at podcast@BattleVault.com. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, and what we can do for you to make your listening experience better. And by all means, please be safe. We're the day before what is this? Tuesday, right? So we're the day before 2 days before Thanksgiving. I guess Thanksgiving Eve is tomorrow. So we certainly hope that everybody has all of our U.S. Friends have a great Thanksgiving with their families. I hope all of our foreign listeners get a chance to experience a true American Thanksgiving family get together at some point in their lives. It's one of my favorite holidays. Mm-hmm. And above all else, be careful. The COVID is going off the charts, right? We were lucky to get the Masters in. Let's hope that SCOTAFest is still on. Let's hope that these events we're talking about are still able to be held. But if you're going to go out to them, be safe. Keep your mask handy and on, and think about protecting others as well as yourself. And let's try to get through this thing without going insane, and by continuing to play our little games of war tanks here, right?
Stick with our fantasy world here. Fantasy world, much better than real world at the moment.
Much better than reality. Reality's terrible. I like the tabletop. Indeed. So, all right. Well, I think that about does it, Ed. So why don't you close us out here?
All right. Well, I say the same thing to you guys. Keep playing, keep having fun, promote the sport, and get other people to come in here if you can. Show them the new thing, and we can recruit and promote the system, and maybe it'll continue on. I know I love it. I want to see it last for a long time.